Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. My name is Ezra, and I'm joined by Ahmad and Sawyer. Caleb's not here. We don't have a special guest.
It's old school.
Yeah, it is old school. Back to the Catacast days, everybody.
Throwback Friday.
Hashtag back to the catacomb.
So I think we're running with this new idea of doing news more streamlined, so we're not all bringing news. I'm just gonna Sawyer this week has compiled a list of news topics. I don't have looking at it right now, I don't have anything else to add to this. So let's get started. I'm gonna be asking Sawyer a lot of questions because a lot of these I actually hadn't heard. So what is the lack of Joker merch?
Okay, so this was going back a few weeks. I think it was during New York Comic-Con, maybe.
Okay.
I think. Whatever the most recent Comic-Con is, it's not the one in Brazil. And actually, even though I know some of you at home probably be like, oh, he's referencing IGN. IGN posted a video from it. It's actually kind of interesting, where they talked about how, despite being, I think it's now officially the biggest October opening of all time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it's also...
It beat Venom, therefore, yeah.
It's also one of the biggest R-rated openings of all time. I don't know if it's beat Deadpool, but it's up there.
I think it... Oh, in terms of openings?
In terms of box office.
I think Joker did beat Deadpool. I
Well,
think that's like what Ryan Reynolds was posting about.
Fact check.
Regardless, the big point I was making about this is that they, despite this film being super popular, making a ton of money, there isn't much merch for it.
Interesting.
Like, you can obviously buy the costume for Halloween.
Yeah.
And you can get, I'm sure there's probably going to be a pop vinyl figure of Joker. But, and like there's posters, but there isn't, I mean, clearly there wasn't going to be toys for this or anything.
Yeah, but there aren't like t-shirts.
There's not t-shirts, there's not they're not widely available posters. There's no like a lot of promotion for it. It's really just buy the Halloween costume and I guess that's it. It's just I guess that it's scarce is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not a whole lot, and I think at least my theory, I want to get your guys' theories too as to why you think this is. I'm thinking partially it's DC trying to get out of the line of fire of marketing this movie because it's already had a very rocky
Marketing
campaign and bad press, and I think they're like, oh, we don't want to market it too much because it seems like we're glorifying it, so they're just kind of waiting for everything to blow over, and then I'm sure we'll get more of the pop vinyls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd say once the Blu-ray hits, then they'll start marketing more.
Okay.
But-
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be a combination of two things. One, what you said. The other is that like there isn't like taxi driver merch. There like
It's not that type of film.
yeah, could you go out and buy a Goodfellas t-shirt? Not very easily.
No.
And so it's like I think in the pursuit of this film specifically trying to be super like artistic and yada yada yada, I think that they probably forgot that the Joker is a marketable character.
Yeah.
And so I think they probably did that, and they also probably didn't believe in it enough to like start doing merch licensing. So I think it's just like a combination of factors led to, hey, we don't have any Joker merch to sell.
I don't know if it's necessarily the fact that they forgot that the Joker is a marketable character. I do agree with you. I think they are trying to get. This is a different film. It's not your typical like Batman versus Superman, like Man of Steel, where they just want to make as much money off of it because it's something that kind of it's a little bit more iconic to like the I guess to the company itself. Joker is a very different film. I feel like it's not like it's a good portrayal of the Joker, but like almost like Heath Ledger's Joker. Even Heath Ledger's Joker got a fair amount of marketing, like toy like and a bunch of toys made and stuff like that.
Well, and the story behind that version of the Joker is a lot more like tragic than this one. This one is just like Todd Phillips made a Scorsese movie,
Yeah.
and Joaquin Phoenix gave the performance of his life.
I
That's
think
like
if anything, we will see vintage like stuff that like that's gonna be made out to be like a vintage kind of thing where it's just like like kind of like 80s nostalgia kind of thing, like you said. There are some Taxi Driver like
yeah, I mean there are T-shirts,
right or not, but like there's
Yeah.
there's the figurines and stuff that you can
Yeah.
buy, but those are very rare. So I think this might be the same instance where it's just like
I'm expecting there's going to be a lot of like the hot toys
Yeah,
type
yeah,
things. Like
yeah.
there'll be like little statues,
yeah.
and there'll be
Nothing
posters.
like like very like kind of like poppy or colory. Like it's just like something that you kind of like just made or nothing to like actually play with. Maybe maybe just something to like admire.
You're not going to see it in the toy aisle at Target. You're not. Gonna
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even
Especially
know
'cause
if
it's
Target would sell that if given.
I
the
do think it's also
opportunity.
interesting though. There's been a lot of other, granted, Joker's more real, but there's been a lot of other dark DC movies that have had children's toys.
Yeah.
Like the
Batman.
Dark Knight trilogy had them. Batman vs
Yeah.
Superman had them.
Yeah.
Well, but
Also, those were maybe rated R. Maybe that's a big thing too.
well, and the Dark Knight. I mean, I would argue the Dark Knight has a much clearer vision of like what.
Good versus kind of evil.
Yeah, like it like makes a lot more clear statements than Joker does. So like I think that
I could
the more apt comparison is like the Matrix to Joker, because
Yeah.
it's like there's Matrix merch out the wazoo, but I think partially because Joker is not a hero's journey, it's or not a traditional hero's journey.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a little harder to make that call when it
And-
comes to merch.
Like we just discussed. I mean, it's more mature. Like you're not gonna. That's why you're not gonna see it in like Walmart or Target.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just thinking about like an action figure of Robert De Niro getting.
I can honestly see like a hot toy of that.
Yeah.
Now I want that actually.
It's gonna be
It's
like
just like-
$400.
Not him getting shot, but just like him.
Well, it's
I
gonna
want
be
the hot
him.
toy.
It's gonna be him in the chair after he gets shot.
Okay, spoilers, but well, we already spoiled it.
Yeah, we already
I
just
want-
spoiled it.
I want the hot toy of him on the top of the cop car at the end doing the smile.
Oh,
like I
yeah,
want
that's
a hot
pretty
toy
cool.
of that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
For those
So
of you
we
who
gotta
don't
move
know-
on though.
I was gonna ask, like, could you like kind of explain what a hot toy?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say just for
Oh,
those of
yeah.
you who don't know, Hot Toys is the brand who makes those really intricate, expensive like statuettes
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
of like pop culture characters. When you walk into a GameStop and you see the glass case with these like little
Yeah.
statuettes in it, most of the time that's Hot Toys.
Yeah.
Is the brand.
It's not a pop.
See, I'm
It's not a
I'm-
pop vinyl. It's like $25.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm more favorable to fig pins, but that's just me.
There's also Hot Toys is one of the most famous ones, and there's also another brand I can't remember the exact name, but there's plenty of those like high end
Yeah.
statuette pop culture events, and a lot of people are like, "You're gonna spend that much money for?" Okay,
Yeah.
It's something
The-
that yeah.
it's a nice collectible item, and if you're
Yeah.
in your house and you're like, and pop culture is a big part of you or this series, putting them in like a game room or a home theater or something is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I mean, there's the one that I really want
It's
is
decor.
now.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, the weekly reference, the hot toy of Solid Snake is really, really cool, and I want that in the game room.
Now, how much do those typically cost? Do they range or is it-
Usually in the
Yeah.
hundreds. Like,
Wow.
there's not one that's, at least as
Yeah.
far as I know, that's below 100.
Wow. So how
There was
how,
I think there was like a cool Sonic one that I saw that was like $40.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Might also be a Sega thing.
That's true.
But there's a lot of them that are
Yeah.
up there.
Now how like the size of these figures?
That also ranges. It could be anywhere from like this big, so like the size of
Like about a foot or something?
yeah, like the size of my foot, and then like one could be like the size of 2 of my feet. Like it really does range.
Yeah.
Like, they are all different, and it also depends on the character or the scene they're
Yeah.
recreating.
Oh, so they recreate scenes as well?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more like they'll recreate famous poses.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they have like a lot of Star Wars.
Oh, they've got
Yeah.
tons.
Tons of Star Wars, tons of superheroes, lots of Dragon Ball.
Interesting.
A lot.
Yeah.
Marvel, DC, and Star Wars are like the big three. They have a lot.
Yeah.
That, and I would say a
Then
lot
I
of,
think it
like,
goes-
video games too. Like
yeah.
Resident Evil has some cool ones.
Yeah, I think it goes like that 3, then like the big like tentpole 3 anime, so like Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and then like the rest of everything else
Right.
gets 1 or 2 every year.
If you can afford them, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to move on because we have quite the list here. I didn't hear about this. Disney is putting Fox movies in the vault.
Some theaters are starting to worry about this because a lot of the time, Fox would allow there were popular re-releases of Fox films in the theaters for like anniversaries, like I believe it was this past month in October, they had the 40th, I think it's the 40th anniversary of Alien in the theater, and they like screened it again.
Yeah.
And most of the time, unless it's a non-profit theater, Disney is not allowing these Fox movies to be played in other theaters. Like, they're no longer doing these special engagement screenings unless it's a non-profit theater.
That is a shame. Yeah. Disney, don't be a jerk.
Now, I'm expecting most of the time that it's... Now, I think the concept of the vault is going to go away now that Disney Plus is around.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting them to be like, oh, we're never going to re-release these movies on Blu-ray, because Disney's kind of stopped doing that, too. I do think the obscure stuff is going to kind of fade out.
Yeah.
But
it was always going to anyways.
Yeah. But now with Disney Plus, there'll at least be a way to watch it.
Yes. Which is, like, probably the most important thing overall. Yeah. So, what is going on with Lucasfilm?
Yeah,
is my question. There's a lot of turmoil.
Okay, so
What's
I'm going to
going on?
avoid a rant on this.
Okay.
But as best as I can,
As
no
best as
promises.
you can, yes.
What is Lucasfilm doing? Because they're I make this reference a lot.
So
but,
this is gonna. I think this is probably gonna cover like 2 or 3 of the other.
But this will probably cover a couple of the
Things
other
on there.
topics on there. I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah.
The first thing that brought this on was seeing the fact that the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss produced and I believe written Star Wars prequel, or we didn't know for sure if it was a prequel, but Star Wars trilogy is apparently not happening.
These guys, if you don't know them, they are the Game of Thrones writers.
Yeah, they were the showrunners like everything else. Now, I mean, it's obvious that the Star Wars trilogy is still going to happen after Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But they are no longer attached, and it's
Isn't
probably
Ryan Johnson still. On
that's
the
also
table?
up in the air. We don't know if that's happening. Ryan Johnson said, like, yeah, I haven't heard a lot. I don't know if it's happening. So we don't know if that trilogy is happening. These writers just left, and Kevin Feige did just come on as a producer for a Star Wars film. We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Just know that he's involved in something. So the only real Star Wars projects we know are Disney Plus related. The Kenobi show, the Mandalorian, and then with Rise of Skywalker coming out, those are really the only 2 we have looking forward to. I mean, there's the Return of the Clone Wars, but that's only 1 season. They're finishing it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Lucasfilm's best move would be to sit back, let Jon Favreau do his thing, let whoever's gonna direct the Kenobi series do their thing, let Kevin Feige do his thing, I could think of like no better 2 people to have in your camp than Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to get something,
we're forgetting a big person in there, Dave Filoni.
Yeah, and so like, I would say that like, I'm not. So there's probably a lot of like turmoil happening as a result of the Last Jedi and Solo. Like that, those are the 2. Those were like 2 tentpole. Like these should have These should have like blown everybody's minds at like we were trying something a little different and it didn't pan out. It was basically the. I mean, I would argue Solo suffers because it didn't try something different, but.
Great. If we're talking about money, though, Last Jedi still made a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, but they're like Star Wars is known for just like having everybody behind them. Like, you know, there are a few people. There are always like a few stragglers who aren't happy.
Prequels.
But yeah, but like usually but this is exactly the problem though, is that after the prequels, Star Wars just fell into a rut. Because nobody liked those movies.
Well,
and
I wouldn't say nobody.
Very few people liked those movies.
I think there's...
Lots of people, I hear a lot of people walked out of Phantom Menace really liking it.
People are,
But-
I think, nowadays coming around because I think a lot of the discourse when they were coming out was and I think this is happening now too. The audience that grew up with the original trilogy was like, "That ain't Star Wars. This isn't," and just hating it, and saying the prequels weren't real Star Wars. And now now the kids who grew up with it are now adults and using the internet. They're saying, "Hey, I actually like those movies. I know they're not perfect, but I like A, B, C, and D." And I think that's the same thing for me too. Is I was like, as a kid growing up, I always felt like I wasn't allowed to like the prequels. It's like those movies suck. You can't like them. I'm like, but Revenge of the Sith is really good. I think there's, I think the same thing is probably going to happen with the sequel trilogy of a lot of people our age and the people who grew up with the original trilogy going, nah, I don't really like this. But the kids who are growing up with it right now, this is their Star Wars. It's going to keep happening with every trilogy. And it's because Star Wars elicits a lot of visceral reactions from people. Like, it's like their childhood almost. But I do think nowadays...
I think Force Awakens and Rogue One and The Last Jedi, I know like some people who grew up with the original, 4, 5, 6, and who grew up with those ones and who like The Last Jedi. I'm not gonna name any names, but like there's...
Well, I mean, I'm not saying there are people who don't.
Right. So I don't know if it's to the extent that like the prequels had like evoked like this kind of like.
Well, the prequels were really different too. Like,
it was a big jump. It was a big jump with like, technically and also. I mean, and also you don't have the lines. Sorry, you don't have the lines that you had in.
You also don't have Lucas in these new ones.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know how I feel about George Lucas.
I think it's with Lucasfilm. This trilogy that was supposed to happen wasn't even going to happen until
2024.
2022, I think is what it was. But now it's the new one is supposedly was in production with their Game of Thrones writers. But it's going to have to get delayed because if they don't have writers, then. But they did confirm that there is an Old Republic something coming. So
that's cool.
But I think it's like
it's probably
with Lucasfilm. Part of the difference with the I guess with the older generation liking these ones is it's part of the same cast.
That's true.
I just want I want Lucasfilm to succeed. I really want them to. There's a lot of stuff coming out in this. Well, it's November now, so there's a lot of stuff coming out in the next 2 months. We got Jedi Fallen Order, the rest of season 2 of Resistance. There's plenty of books, Rise of Skywalker, Mandalorian. There's a ton of stuff coming out. I want Lucasfilm to succeed.
When is the Rise of Skywalker?
December 15th, right? Or am I wrong?
Yes,
is that a week
I think you're right.
Week after finals, or
I think it's like the
weekend after finals.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but it's I just wish they could have a cohesive vision. They need to do. I hate to say this because this has a lot of connotations, but I want them to do something similar to Marvel. Not in terms of the grand universe, we have 3 movies every year kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of having a Kevin Feige who basically says, okay, we're doing these movies, these are who is writing and directing, and they're going to come out here, here, and here.
In a lot of ways, I think that's what Kevin Feige was kind of brought on board to do, was like, because he's probably, you have to imagine, like, he oh my goodness, he planned out all of these Disney Plus shows, all of these movies. Like, there's so much in the tank at Marvel right now. He could probably spend 6 months doing something else. So Lucasfilm was probably like knocked on his door and was like, "Hey, can you just help us out real quick?" And he is like,
"I just want
the kids always need my money." And then
I just think there's been no concrete information other than, hey, the Kenobi series is coming. That's the only thing we've heard that's concrete. Well, the Mandalorian we already knew about.
Yeah.
Like, that was from months ago.
Yeah.
Like, the only concrete thing that's not already in production that we know is happening and is, like, going to be rolling out soon is the Kenobi show.
Yeah.
Which, that's, like, the one thing that I'm like, I need it to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I need that.
But everyone needs a good Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
I want to have concrete information of Lucasfilm saying, okay, this trilogy is happening next. It's going to be the Old Republic, and Dave Filoni's directing. And be like, Great.
That's
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
They made all the right moves at that one.
Yeah.
We got to move on. Ahmad, do you want to say anything else about this?
I did not know that Lucasfilm made The Land Before Time.
And with that,
So we're gonna couple these two: Game of Thrones prequel canceled and a new GOT series at HBO Max.
okay. So I guess I'm just walking us through the news.
Yeah.
So the Game of Thrones pilot that was sent to HBO starring Naomi Watts was apparently scrapped and not picked up by HBO. It was apparently going to be called. Now I know you guys haven't watched Game of Thrones, but apparently it was going to be taking place in the thousands of years before the original show.
That's actually kind of cool.
I don't know if it was hundreds or thousands, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
But it was gonna because you were saying the magic died out
By the time
by
of the
the time,
original show,
so maybe it would have had magic.
and it would have been about supposedly the early Starks. Which would have been interesting, but that got scrapped. Apparently, there was also a lot of issues during post production of that,
Okay.
and a lot of the producers and people involved weren't getting along, so that was scrapped. And they just announced that HBO Max, Warner Brothers, I guess Time Warner's new streaming service, is going to have a new Game of Thrones related show called House of the Dragon,
Okay.
which is going to be about the Targaryens instead of the Starks, and it's going to take place. I could be wrong about this. I've heard conflicting information. One thing I heard was it's going to be during Aegon's conquest, which is when basically Aegon Targaryen was the conqueror of Westeros.
Okay.
He kind of just came in with his dragons and just took over everything, and that's why there is the Kingdom of Westeros, because he took it all over.
So maybe it's about that.
So it could be about how the Westeros was founded by Aegon. The other conflicting report I've heard is that it's going to take place a couple decades before the main show, and it's going to be about how everything got to the point of where it was at the beginning of Game of Thrones. So it could be like Robert's Rebellion and early Night King's reign, young Ned Stark. It could be about that. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if I want that, because that screams The Hobbit to me, because I'm like, I don't want to just
Well, but The Hobbit was written before Lord of the Rings.
True, but I'm talking about in terms of movies.
Yeah.
Like, it just screams of we're gonna make sure everything ties in neatly into the,
Yeah.
But I want it, I want the show to be cool, but too much of it seems like it's just gonna be, we're just gonna show, this is how, it's the Solo problem. This is how Ned Stark got his sword. This is how the throne was here. This is how Robert rebelled. Just all these things. I would like something in that same world that's just thousands of years before. Give me the Night King's original conquest or something like that. I don't necessarily need this is what happened during Robert's Rebellion, because we already know what happened.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully
it's good though.
Yeah. So we need to kind of cut a few things off here. So
the two ones we were going to say for Caleb, we can just mention and then move on.
Yeah, they announced a Green Lantern show and a Superman and Lois show, both on the CW, right?
The Green Lantern one is going to be on HBO Max. The Superman and Lois one is going to be on CW.
Yeah.
We'll save talking about that for next week with Caleb, because we know he's a big Arrowverse fan.
He's a big DC man. The streaming wars. What?
Yeah.
What?
That was more. I put that down as a note of something we could talk about with a big discussion.
Oh, okay.
But it was mainly of just talking about how there are a flood of streaming services now, and this is gonna be the make or break time with Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Apple TV Plus all launching within 3 months of each other.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Go subscribe to Disney Plus. I don't know.
That'll be it. If you want to hear that actual conversation, let us know.
I'm gonna skip down a few. We can come back to this at some point next week after, or something like that. But I really want to talk about the Witcher trailer. That
I
dropped
have
yesterday.
not had a chance to watch it yet.
Okay, I watched it.
Is it good?
Well, I haven't played Witcher 3. I haven't played any of the other Witcher games, so I'm not speaking from experience.
No.
However, having watched it, I think that Henry Cavill was made for the role of a buff, white-haired
Witch.
mutant dude. Yeah, I don't know what Geralt even is, but that's sort of like Henry Cavill's place in acting is that kind of character. The wounded warrior sort of thing. And I've been on board. I think any sort of fantasy anything is rife for having like a nice meaty Netflix show. And so when I watched the trailer, I was I can't say I'm super excited about it because I don't have any investment in that world, but it looks really cool and it looks like something I'm willing to sink my time into.
From what I've seen from the first trailer and the screenshots of this show, it very much looks like they're trying to fill the void left by Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I do think it's
it
gonna
definitely
be
looks like that.
it's gonna be obviously different considering Game of Thrones didn't really have magic, and Witcher is going full into that and monsters and everything else. But I'm interested. I still think, at least I haven't seen the new trailer, but in the first trailer, I looked at Henry Cavill and I'm like, that's a wig. But it was. I hope it's good. I got the games. I want to play the games, but I also, for those of you who don't know, The Witcher is it's going to be coming to Netflix in March, right?
Witcher?
Yeah.
I thought Witcher was coming out soon.
Oh, maybe it's sooner.
Dude,
I thought it was
Oh
March.
no!
That's definitely a wig.
Yeah, I mean, I mean it's definitely a wig, but it's like I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
don't know.
It looks pretty cool.
For those of you who don't know, it's based on a series of Polish fantasy novels.
Yeah, which is cool.
They have been translated into English if you want
Isn't
to
there a
read
game?
them.
But this is a game.
But there's a trilogy of
Yeah.
games released by CD Projekt Red as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who they are? CD Projekt Red?
They're the people making Cyberpunk.
Oh, Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, yeah,
and then wasn't with The Witcher 3? Isn't that like one of the best?
It's one
Yeah,
of the
that's-
highest rated games of all time.
Yeah, it's
Is it really?
Yeah, I've seen gameplay. I want to play it really bad, but you know me, I gotta play the whole trilogy first.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'd probably never do that.
yeah. Granted, the first
yeah.
two aren't as long.
And then sorry.
I was gonna say, have you played both?
Played part of the first one. I haven't played any of the second one, and I've seen gameplay of the third.
Yeah.
Before I watch this show though, I am going to at least play the games. I want to do the books, then the games, and the show, but that's gonna take a while.
That's a madman's task right there.
Yeah.
Isn't the Witcher series just like massive?
It's pretty
Isn't it
big.
just like
Yeah.
a huge book
Yeah.
Yeah.
journey? Yeah.
It's almost like. Never mind. I was gonna say almost like The Hobbit. You know.
I would
but
argue
even
more
like
Lord of the
more
Rings.
expansive.
Yeah, Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings. Yeah.
But this is a series that was like, just kept. It's like if the Arthurian legends just like kept having books.
Yeah.
made. Yeah, and then we're running out of time, so I'll.
Just rapid fire.
Yeah. Well, I think we want to talk about the Death Stranding reviews that are coming out. Not super hot.
Well, it's divisive. Is what I
Yeah,
would say.
it's so people are not warm on the gameplay.
So shout out again to Inside Gaming. They did a review. They published it late. I guess so late that it was actually early.
Yeah.
Last night for the game. I agree with what they've said. Now I haven't played it yet,
Yeah.
but from what they've said, it makes a lot of sense. They and I'm paraphrasing here, but from what they kind of had said was the gameplay. Don't go in expecting Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
It's mostly the joke is that you basically play as an Amazon Prime delivery man.
Wow.
Like most of the gameplay, it's not based on combat. Like there is combat, but it's used usually as a last resort, which I guess is similar to Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And the idea is essentially in order to reconnect these fragmented cities across America, you deliver packages to these other encampments or like supplies and stuff like that. And really, the bad guys, at least the human bad guys, don't really want to kill you or hurt you. They'll just shock you and take your stuff and then just leave.
So
Like-
it doesn't feel like there are many stakes. Is the
Well,
idea?
I don't know about that. There are non-human
Yeah.
entities that will kill you,
Okay.
but it's Now, I've also tried to avoid spoilers as much as possible, so
Yeah.
I don't know the whole thing, but apparently, shocker, it does actually make sense, even though the trailers haven't revealed a lot.
What?
But
A Kojima game making sense?
it looks interesting, it looks wacky. From what I've heard, the biggest complaints were that the movement of the main character, in terms of the gameplay, it's kind of clunky.
Okay.
That the game engine seems to already register and make up its mind of what movement or animation is going to come next, not even taking into account the presses you make on the controller.
Ooh.
Like they made a point saying like they were on the edge of a cliff in like the review,
Oh no.
and that the character was on the edge of a cliff, and that they said like, okay, go left, but as they were hitting it, he just kept walking forward. Like the animation in the engine had already decided, okay, we're gonna go forward, and didn't take into account the progress. So I think there might be a way with the Decima engine how it runs, but
Yeah, that sounds like an engine problem.
but that's really, other than that, the only real complaints that I've heard are just that it's very much not a combat or a fast-paced game, and that they do have weapon degradation.
Mhm.
So like it's kind of like Breath of the Wild in terms of they have something called Timefall, which is it's very Kojima of the rain is like acid, except it makes things age rapidly. So when the rain will hit your gear or your shoes or your packages or whatever, it'll start to break, and that
Interesting.
timefall can affect stuff. So
That's a neat mechanic.
it looks really interesting, but this is not a game for everyone.
Yeah.
Do not go in expecting a fast-paced action Metal Gear Solid 5 type game.
Yeah.
But I think the reviews have come from people expecting that like this game is going to be for a very niche audience.
Yeah, which is not kind of not what Sony wanted, but it's what they got when they got Kojima. I don't know what else they were expecting.
Was there anything else on the list?
There's plenty on the list. We're just running out of time.
I just want to go through the headlines and we can talk about some more later.
Yeah. Let me talk about that. EA games coming back to Steam.
Yeah, that's a brief one. I don't know much about it, but apparently, even though Origin is still a thing, there are some EA games on Steam apparently, and I think Jedi Fallen Order might be one of them.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Talked about that. Netflix Speed Watch. Bad idea.
That's a bad idea. There's apparently Netflix was testing a feature that could let you watch films and TV shows at a higher speed, so like putting it at 0.5 speed or 1.5 speed, or putting it at like negative 0.5 speed and slowing it down.
What?
I'm
Yeah.
okay with like slowing it down because that can help with like analysis and stuff.
Yeah.
But like speeding it up just so it. Yeah, I had a long conversation about this with my roommate. It's a bad idea. Just go look it up and you'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
that's also completely destroys the pacing of some of these movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of pacing just gets destroyed. The Modern Warfare controversy. What's happening with that?
I mean, it was controversy not in terms of real world, but in terms of in-game. No, I don't mean like monetization kind of controversy.
Okay.
I mean in terms of controversy of the
Like content.
content. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, there's some messed up stuff in it. It's kind of blown over quickly. I thought it was going to be much bigger, to the point where like it's blown over, and I don't even really remember what the controversy was. But just that there's some stuff in game that is controversial, but it's not nearly as big as No Russian. So plus, I think the news is way more occupied with still blaming Joker than they are about Call of Duty. So
Sort of. Yeah, it's like a both and. And then Pennyworth Season 2. Let's go, Alfred.
Yeah. Cool. Give me Alfred Season 2.
Not much else to say about that. You did list modern art house horror, but I assumed that was an idea
That
for
was
a
another
topic.
topic.
Yeah,
Which
I
we
like
kind of
that.
already covered last week.
So, yeah, we did that last week.
I'd like to do more of an in-depth. Like,
Does
Cool.
anybody
Yeah,
else
for sure.
have another news topic? Anything else that was big? I'm forgetting what I read this week.
I will just mention this briefly because we didn't talk about the streaming wars, but Apple TV Plus, even though I do not plan on subscribing to it, Ronald D. Moore, the showrunner, I guess he wrote and I think show ran the Battlestar Galactica show that I love so much.
Yeah.
He's doing a show called For All Mankind. The trailer did come out and it looks pretty cool. It's basically what if the Soviet Union got to the moon before us?
Oh, that's cool.
And it's kind of like a whole space race thing, and it's essentially they got to the moon before us, and the space race just never stopped. It just kept going.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
cool.
like modern day-ish, but the space race is still happening.
But we're like we've gone farther because we
Yeah.
didn't win. Interesting.
And because of this space race continuing, technology has advanced much faster and much more advanced than it is now.
That's actually a really neat idea.
It looks pretty cool. Ronald D. Moore is great. Personally, I don't think he's ever made anything bad. Give him a Star Wars trilogy. Yeah, check out the trailer. It's still not going to get me to subscribe to Apple TV Plus, but
Yeah.
I'll probably catch it if it's on. I can just buy it on Apple TV. Or
Man,
something.
you're harder to get than I am. You just had to say the words Picard, and
And you're like-
and CBS All Access got me. Like,
Well, all
Uh,
Disney had to say was Star Wars. I'm like, okay. I guess I'll do it. All they had to say
yeah.
was Kenobi, and I was
Yes.
like,
So Ahmad, will you lead us off with your topic this week?
topic.
Topic is.
I'm never gonna stop calling it that.
Topic. My topic is the
How many times can we say topic?
I'm just trying to push it, but the Sergio Leone trilogy.
Man with No Name trilogy.
The man with no name,
The
played
man.
by none other than Clint Eastwood,
Clint Eastwood,
the legend.
the myth,
Yes,
He
I don't
is-
know if he's a myth,
the folk.
but he is a legend.
It's a folk tale, no.
I was gonna say, I would like to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly a little more. I guess more. There's more of this.
It's a great epic.
Yeah, it's more of a So I'm gonna be talking more about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I will be talking about for a few dollars more, and then
Okay.
fistful of dynamite.
Fistful of
$4.
dollars.
Yeah, well, fistful of dynamite is the fourth one.
There's a fourth.
There's a
one?
fist. Yeah, the fistful of dynamite. It's not that good.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, look it
I've
up.
never seen that.
Fistful of dollars, and then for a few dollars more, and then the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The first one in the trilogy.
Third
The
one.
last one.
Is
yes.
it the
Well,
last one?
Well, I guess the third one. The fourth one.
It's the last one in the trilogy, not the last movie.
Yeah. It's fistful of dollars is really, or fistful of dynamite is forgotten because it's not as good. But
Okay.
it's I think it's about the Alamo. So I want to start off by talking about for a few dollars more.
Okay.
So
I haven't seen those two movies. I've only seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
they're all really good.
Yeah.
Except that when there are some there's strong there's ones that are more strong than others, but for a few dollars more, as I believe the first one.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but
Fistful.
I did look it up. It's called
Duck You Sucker.
It's called Duck You Sucker, but it's also its alternative title is
Fistful of Dynamite.
Fistful of Dynamite, and it is directed by Sergio Leone, and it's part of his Western series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not part of the Man with No Name trilogy, as Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name is not in it.
It is in it. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's part of the Sergio Leone's Western movies.
The expanded universe.
Yeah.
Basically, so it doesn't have the Clint Eastwood character in it.
Yeah, so I guess I'm
That's
not
funny.
gonna count that. I'm just gonna be counting the ones with Clint Eastwood. For a few dollars more. It's so hard to talk about these because they're all really good and they're
Yeah.
for different reasons.
Good and Bad, the Ugly stands. I would say probably stands atop the other two just because of how monumental it is.
Yeah, for a few dollars more, I don't know if either of you have seen it.
I've only seen Good
Okay.
and Bad, the Ugly. And you
it's-
haven't seen any of them.
I want to really badly.
You can watch these out of order, I would say.
Yes.
I didn't lose anything by watching Good and Bad, the Ugly
Alright.
on its own.
I was gonna say, what was it?
Maybe there's some history behind Clint Eastwood's character, but
I mean, the fact that he's called the man with no name probably
Yeah.
assumes that there isn't a whole lot of backstory.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of backstory. There's
Just a lot of adventures.
I
Yeah.
think this is probably the first time we've actually talked about westerns on this show.
yeah, we haven't really talked about westerns, and that's something I'd be interested a little bit more to like
Yeah.
kind of unpack. But I'm gonna talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly
Yeah.
first because I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to recall the plot for the first film.
Yeah.
I think the second film, the first film was the first film in the no name series is like the I wouldn't say it's the weakest one, but it's the one that like
Okay.
set out to, like it's not the one that like I kind of appreciated the most. The second one I appreciated a lot, and then the third one's the best for me. But the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, like you have Clint Eastwood. You have I don't remember his name. I don't know why I'm blanking on these actors' names. But you have well, I guess I could start off by talking about the score. Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, the score is
the score is phenomenal.
iconic.
Yeah, I mean, like that's used like I mean, like when you think about westerns,
Yeah.
and when you think about like specifically the spaghetti westerns, I feel like every other film to come after this was somehow kind of influenced by these films that came out in some
Yeah.
way or the other. It could be quite literally like by using that
Yeah.
or just in terms of form and like you having this like kind of
Yeah.
this person with not that much backstory coming into this kind of story, being put into the story and like having to like either save, rescue, or like get out of this like certain situation that he's all of a sudden
Yeah.
put in.
Yeah. Sergio Leone sort of redefined the typical Western.
Oh, he
hero.
did for sure. He did because before this you really just had the John Wayne film.
Yeah,
like,
it's like that
Western film.
that archetype of Western
Yeah, right,
hero who's
right.
basically just like Captain America
Right.
wearing a cowboy hat.
Right. Yeah. John.
Um,
it was, like your John Ford kind of John Fordian like
Yeah.
westerns. These films were. I'm gonna like their visual look, their visual style is a lot more grotesque. It's not like
Yeah.
anything you've seen in like any kind of John Ford film. Like you see like the grotesque detail in their face, you see the sweat, you see the dirt, you see the grime. This is a much more realistic portrayal, if that makes any sense.
That's how the West actually was.
Yeah, right. So it's that these people are not living in like the best situations.
Yeah.
It's like you still have the Wild West elements where like anything kind of goes. But it's still there's more of this realistic kind of grounded approach in the visual style and look of the film. Also, if the films feature these like vistas of like these like vast kind of like just
These landscapes.
which also are kind of like iconic to these films.
It's very pretty.
Very pretty, very pretty.
In a sort of grimy way.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look nice, but it's like very well portrayed.
Yeah. So Lee Van Cleef is the actor I was trying to remember.
Oh.
He plays the bad. He's also in all three of his films.
Impeccable.
He does a really good job.
He plays the same character in all three?
No, not the same character.
okay.
Sorry, he's in each one of these films.
Playing a different character?
Playing a different character.
Do they explain that, or is it just kind of...
Well, the thing is like they never really specifically say that these films are connected in any kind of way, but people kind of group them together because there's the same cast, same kind of similar story, but like there's no like
indication.
There's no indication that these films are canon or like they're like in one kind of continuous story. I don't know if that was the right
Canon.
use of, is that the right
I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
right use of that.
Yeah.
But Eli Welch plays Tuco, who's the ugly.
Yeah. Super one of the weirder parts of the movie, I would say, because it's the basic idea is like the bad is sort of running around doing.
He's looking for this treasure.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I forgot what it
Well,
was.
he gets told about this kind of treasure.
Okay, yeah. And
that's but it's inside this like tomb that's unmarked.
Yeah, and then the ugly has some passing knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like he is targeted by the bad, and so he's like just running away, and then
so
he comes in contact with the good.
So here's what the film really, so Clint Eastwood and Eli Welch's character, the ugly and the good, they have this kind of like collaboration.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They have this collaboration where so Clint Eastwood takes the ugly in, and he like, you know, there's a bounty on his head, so like he takes him in, and like they have this kind of agreement where like, I'll take you in to get this bounty, you'll like go in to get hanged or almost hanged, and then last minute Clint Eastwood shoots the rope, and then they run off, and they split the bounty. So that's the kind of like thing that they have going on. And then
Tuco at one point abandons him.
Well,
right?
Clint Eastwood abandons him first.
Yeah, and then later
Tuco. And then he comes because he wants to get revenge, and like I love that entire sequence. It's so well done. Like him being able to like retrace, track the good. So he eventually tracks him down, and then he takes him into Death Valley, and like they just have he has him walk for miles, and then eventually Clint Eastwood kind of falls or whatever, and then that's when they find this wagon that comes. And then
the bad is
the person in the wagon tells him about this treasure. Tells him about this treasure. He's like, if you give me some water, I could tell you more about this treasure. But he tells the good this. So Clint Eastwood's character is the only one who knows about this. But he uses this information to get out of Tuco's hands, because he tells Tuco about if this person just told me you'll never see an ounce of that treasure if I die. So then they set out to get the treasure, and then the bad figures out that they have information, and then he kind of goes after them. That sounds like a really rough way to kind of.
It's
I'm sure
3
you're confused,
hours.
Sawyer, but
no, I'm still definitely wanting to see it, because it does sound like a typical Western plot of we gotta get the treasure.
Right.
But it's I would say it's more than the sum of its parts.
Oh, it's a lot more. It's so this is the story, but I think what's something that's a lot more important, and that's something you should kind of look for when you watch the film, is the backdrop of this film, the backdrop of the Civil War being evident in the film. Is it
post or pre?
No, it's during the Civil War. So this is
I forgot all about
this
that.
story is happening during the Civil War,
and
there's a lot of commentary on showing different perspectives from each side. But which is something that is really interesting, because it humanizes both sides, even though you have one side that's not as good.
There's clearly one side that's right.
But the thing is which is why it was controversial, is it kind of humanizes both sides of the war.
Which is interesting, because as much as they were, one side was clearly right.
Right.
It's interesting that to at least agree with or understand the fact that they were still people on the other side.
That's really what it is. It's just obviously one side was right, but it does a fairly well job of humanizing both sides.
And that's Leone's MO, I would say.
Yeah.
It's he does not make one note films.
No, he doesn't. No.
Yeah.
Also, it does a really good job, because typically with war films, you obviously only get one side of things, and one side is right. And in this case, one side was right, but it also did a good job kind of portraying how describing how both sides were very good and also bad in both so they were, both sides were doing bad things. It's not just one side that was doing all the heinous stuff. Both sides were doing pretty terrible stuff to each other. Both sides were also kind of have this humanistic character.
I do love that thing with Westerns where it's there are no heroes type thing, where it's just it's all kind of
it's all kind of meshed up, and it makes you question who's really
and I would say Sergio Leone is the first person to really bring that forth.
Oh, he revitalized the Western.
Yeah.
So Akira Kurosawa, his films so I have to mention
Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai. I don't know if it was Seven Samurai. That wasn't the film that wasn't the film that.
Was it Rio Bravo?
No. I'm sorry. So
Ran.
No, you're good.
Let's just run through all of Akira Kurosawa.
No, so there was one film that Akira Kurosawa actually called Sergio Leone he called him he plagiarized his film pretty much, essentially.
Oh, okay.
One of his films.
Well, there is when you go on IMDb, I think it's Rio Bravo, because Rio Bravo, I believe, is listed. Maybe it's not Rio Bravo, but there's one of the movies. Oh, Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the Magnificent Seven. Seven Samurai. But there was
On IMDb, it's listed as a remake of Seven Samurai.
Yeah. That one's one of them, and also Yojimbo. Yojimbo is the film that inspired, heavily inspired, not The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but I believe it was For a Few Dollars More.
Okay.
For a few dollars more, where this lone samurai comes in and saves kind of like this clan, this feuding clan, so essentially Akira Kurosawa called, For a Few Dollars More was like literally the same thing but Western, which kind of made me think. Although it is, there are a lot of similar elements to the film. They're like Sergio Leone did a really good job, like pulling stuff away, but also like adding his own new kind of take.
Yeah.
Especially on the Western genre. He also, like I said, revitalized the Western genre, because at this point, at this point, it was dying. Like John Ford had moved away from the Western kind of genre, and it was more so just like this was like the this was the 60s.
Yeah.
1969,
right?
69. Well, 69 for 65 for this first film. 69.
Oh, and Good, Bad, and the Ugly was
69.
Okay. I do think it's interesting because like I didn't know it was during the Civil War. That's interesting. A lot of these westerns mention the Civil War, but having it during it is interesting. Most of the time they're either pre or post. Now the question I have for it is, having not seen it yet, I do notice, at least from film history, that John Wayne and a lot of his classic ones, and John Ford and those ones, a lot of the time were revisionist westerns. So everything was great. We were the heroes. No,
that's not the case with these films.
Does this one address, do they treat it as a very much a gray area of addressing how the Native Americans were treated, or
it doesn't. It doesn't talk about
it's
that aspect.
It's interesting, because not a lot of the films in terms of representation. Maybe that's because these films were shot in Italy. Which is interesting because you have the whole Civil War thing.
Well, they were
having
that's also the other interesting thing about these films is they're some of the most quintessential American Western movies, and they weren't made in America.
Yeah,
they're Italian.
They were shot in Italy. Except for the head three, I would say. Use primarily Italian actors that they dub over, which I think is.
And then the dubbing is pretty bad, but
the dubbing is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, but
you forgive it.
Well, you forgive it because of how good the film is.
It also, I think, kind of enhances the experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it makes it feel like it pulls you out of the world just enough to make you not feel horrible watching it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think the entire film would just feel miserable.
Yeah.
But it still has a little bit of that fun in it because you can kind of laugh at some of the. I think Tuco is played by an Italian actor. Yeah.
Yes,
these are the ones that I've been wanting.
Tuco's originally Italian. Sorry.
You got it. These are the ones that I've been wanting to watch, because as much as John Wayne has a lot of classic ones like True Grit those ones, as much as I do like westerns, they're typically the genre I follow the least, because A, a lot of them have very similar plots, and B, a lot of the John Wayne ones tend to gloss over a lot of the mistreatment of that era.
Yeah.
At least, it's. But I also don't like the ones who are saying everything that the Americans did in the West was bad. I like the ones like this where it says the West was basically lawless. It was all gray area. There was no outright good and bad. And I like how they have that in this.
I feel like when I watched a John Wayne movie, I don't remember which one it was, but
probably True Grit.
What?
I said it's probably True Grit. That's his most famous.
It wasn't True Grit.
Oh, okay.
It was something else.
Just really fast. I don't know if I really clarified it before, but so Yojimbo was Fistful of Dollars. I don't know which one I said, but Fistful of Dollars was the one that was directly inspired by Yojimbo.
Oh, okay.
His first film. That was the film that Akira Kurosawa came out, kind of called out
Yojimbo is
the
a Kurosawa movie, right?
Yojimbo is a
Okay.
Kurosawa film where two feuding clans kind of are like going at it, and this one kind of lone samurai comes in and like kind of like disrupts that. Same thing with Fistful of Dollars. Clint Eastwood's the character who's like lone samurai who comes in into this town where like these two feuding kind of like families, kind of like the Hatfield and McCoys, but like kind of go at it.
Well, and the same thing happened with, I mean, like we mentioned too, with also Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven.
Was that also Sergio Leone?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Oh,
So-
no, sorry. Magnificent Seven was not Sergio Leone.
So, like, Kurosawa, it's interesting, at least in terms of film history, we don't really have time to go into it now.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that there is a lot of crossover between Japanese samurai film and American westerns.
Also, I mean, George
Right.
Lucas was heavily inspired
And yet,
by
Yeah, George Lucas famously just like wasn't given the opportunity to make a samurai film, so he just did it.
made Star
He
Wars.
just made Star Wars,
I think,
and it's
Yeah,
kind of a samurai movie.
yeah.
But
I think it's
with-
interesting that, like, these films are in... Like, I would argue there's the comparison between Japan and samurai films and America and Western films is a way of, at least in those periods, was going back to a time when it was your classic heroes and villains, but also in terms of gray areas. Which, because this was also, I mean, it was all around World War II. And these were times where it was interesting, like the samurai time and the cowboy time. They were outlaws that you were interested to see, but there was a lot of things in the history for both of the countries that were making these movies that during those periods were not great.
Yeah.
But I think it's also interesting to note of what was going on when these movies that were adapting those periods came out.
Yeah.
Because Japan had just lost the war, and we had just won.
Yeah.
And there
It was just like that.
it's interesting. I think I had never really realized the connection between these two different genres in two different countries.
One thing I want to comment on, kind of closing off, I want to make sure we leave time for other people, but these films were not taken well in the United States. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was banned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
banned. It was these films were a lot more popular overseas. So like in the Middle East, obviously parts of Europe and other kind of southeastern, South Asians like countries and stuff. But like these films were not like, especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was banned because of the Civil War thing, because of it's sentimental kind of view towards the wrong side, obviously.
Well, I wouldn't view sentimental as much as sympathetic.
Sympathetic, sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
I was gonna say, like, no, that's a very different connotation.
That's a recent connotation.
Yeah. But more of a sympathetic look at the other side, which is why it was banned. But after a while, it got re-released and people really started to like it.
Yeah. It's an excellent movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, like the ending is iconic.
I was gonna say, like, even if you don't ever intend on watching this movie, which, fair enough, there are movies I'll never watch.
Hereditary.
The final gun duel. The final gunfight at the end.
It's well
confrontation is perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
would not change anything about it. It's stunning. You owe it to yourself to watch that at least.
At least just as a piece of cinema.
Yeah, like if you want like just a piece of like what makes cinema great. Yeah. That's like one of like 7 holy grails.
And then I have to talk about a little bit about For a Few Dollars More because of the villain. Okay. Played by Ellen Deal, I think I think I might be. I don't know what it is. But
here, show it to me.
But they pronounce it in the movie like indigo, indigo, but it's INDIO.
El Indio.
El Indio.
Who knows?
But because of like he has this like watch that plays like this haunting kind of tune. So this person is like he has like a huge bounty on his head, and his like thing that he does is so he opens like this watch like this stopwatch, and like it plays this like haunting tune or whatever, and by the end of the tune, that's when you draw your gun and he shoot and like that's when you know like the showdown you have like at noon or whatever. That's this kind of version of it. So like
That's cool.
So like when you hear when he opens his thing, like when somebody kind of confronts him and he opens his watch and like this song starts to play, then you know like it's crap's about to get really real.
The song's about to go down.
Yeah. So I think by the end of the song, you have to like you draw your weapon and the first one to do it. Yeah, I really like that film. I don't know.
I definitely want to see it. I wish they were streaming on something.
Yeah.
They might be on. They're not on Netflix.
I have all three of them.
Is it? I want to get the 4K remastered box set of the trilogy.
I don't have that.
I would love to see the
cool
4K
to get.
remastered.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah.
That'd be another thing we should talk about is remasters.
Yeah.
That's for another time though. Okay. Or who's? That was really interesting.
Sawyer, will you talk about your topic?
Mine is not going to be nearly as interesting. It's going to be, but it could go into another genre that we haven't covered as much on here too.
Okay.
It is going to be about Ghosts of Mars.
Now, you say genres we've never talked about.
Well,
This
not
sounds
never,
like a,
but rarely.
This sounds like a sci-fi topic to me.
It is
and if
sci-fi.
you know us, we've talked a lot of sci-fi.
But it's sci-fi, but not.
Oh, wait a second.
Same sci-fi.
Ice Cube's in it?
Ice Cube is one of the leads. Yes.
It's another
Now,
one with rap.
Let me explain this film because it needs some explaining. So it's starring Ice Cube, Natasha Henstridge, Pam Grier, Jason Statham,
Pam Grier.
from Foxy Brown.
Yeah.
Hated that movie.
Oh.
That is some kind of cast.
Jason Statham and there's one other guy I'm forgetting.
Cillian Murphy.
No, it's not. There's also a woman in it
Nick
who
Cage.
I recognized but didn't know who she was, and I looked her up on
Richard
IMDb.
Creighton? Or,
Probably. There's a lot of people in this movie, but the big ones are Ice Cube, Natasha Henstridge, and Ice Cube.
And Jason Statham.
Jason Statham as well. I said Ice Cube twice.
Yes.
Uh,
You did.
Ice Cube gets double billed.
I remember seeing this as a kid and it was like a fever dream.
It's a strange movie. Now I should explain why I watched this.
Okay.
It was after I got back from shooting a Mods 48.
Oh,
I was tired. I was on Showtime, and I was like, well, I'm tired. This movie's only 90 minutes. I might as well watch it.
Oh.
And it's directed by John Carpenter, who is one of my favorite directors, and it's one of the only movies of his that I haven't seen until now.
And it's bad.
It's okay. So
I haven't seen this in so long. I just wanted to see.
So it's not textbook good, as I would say. It is. John Carpenter was very much going for his particular style, and this is the genre I'm referring to. Is the old B-movie drive-in 1950s style.
So like it's I'm thinking like he was almost trying to recreate something like Quentin Tarantino tried to do with Death Proof.
I would argue
like
it's like
Grindhouse.
that.
Is it like more Grindhouse?
It's like Grindhouse, but I would argue it's a little less tongue-in-cheek than Death Proof was. If you're talking more in terms of the Grindhouse style, Planet Terror would be a little bit more of a good comparison. It's self-aware, but also doesn't do the whole winking at the camera thing like Grindhouse does. But it's very much an homage or a classic throwback to those 50s drive-in monster movies. Basically, and the plot follows it too. They get to Mars. Apparently, it's been colonized, and as these different groups are terraforming it and mining it, they eventually let out these like spirits of former Martians, and they take over the bodies of these colony workers, and it essentially kind of becomes a zombie movie, but with the ghosts of Martians inside the bodies of these colonists.
Oh my god.
That's funny.
It's ridiculous. It's stupid. The design for these, and like the Martians apparently once they get into these human bodies start like decorating and putting on like war paint and piercings and everything. It's weird. It also it's a bit on the iffy side in terms of they make these ghosts Martians look very tribal, and it's a little bit like
Yeah.
but it's It's interesting. It's so cheesy to the point where it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Also, there's some lines that Jason Statham's character has that have not aged very well, in terms of treatment of female characters.
Oh, nice.
But
Nice.
overall, it's just one of those films where like it's just ridiculous, it's stupid, and it is aged so poorly. But it is so much fun to watch
Yeah.
because it's such a product of its time.
Jason's
Like if you're viewing the film as a classic B movie throwback, it works. It's a good fun time. If you're going into it looking for a legitimately good sci-fi adventure film, that's not what you're gonna get.
Okay.
I do recommend it if you're a fan of John Carpenter because it does have his signature wacky style. The one disappointment is even though John Carpenter directed this and I think he did the music is nowhere near as good as his classics.
Okay.
It's nothing like The Thing or They Live or anything like that. Halloween.
They can't all be winners.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really, Ice Cube's character essentially is a mercenary. He's known as Desolation Williams.
Desolation Williams.
That's funny.
And it's kind of one of those things, kind of like Carpenter's earlier film, Assault on Precinct 13, where they have to work together in order to get out of there on this, somehow this it's basically a Resident Evil game.
Okay.
Where like, well, instead of a self-destructo, we have to get on the train as soon as it gets here, and if we can leave as we shoot at these zombies. Oh wait, I mean Martians. Yeah, it's...
Oh wait, Assault on Precinct 13. Was this one of his first?
Assault on Precinct 13 was 1971? 76.
Yeah, 76.
Yeah, it was his second theatrically released
It
movie.
got a pretty
Dark
good-
Star was first.
Some pretty good reviews.
Yeah, it's good. I've seen it. That'll be a movie for another time. But it's Ghosts of Mars, worth checking out if you are a film fan, I guess, because its throwback to the 50s drive-in style B movies is interesting. But if you go into this movie not knowing what it is, you're gonna hate it. Also, it's supposed to be Mars, but it's clearly Utah.
Nice.
Or
That's
Arizona. It's clearly Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will finish us off on the topics by bringing forth a classic, quote unquote classic. I don't know how people feel about it nowadays. Naruto. I love it. Ahmad loves it.
Oh yeah, I love
Sawyer's never seen it.
Nope. Never seen an episode.
it. Not a single episode.
I don't even know what it's about. I just know there's a character called Naruto.
Nine-tailed fox.
So, the first thing I will say is that I think watching the anime is a mistake.
Whoa.
And that is not a slight against the anime. It's the anime is too big. There's too much
That's been a lot of
filler.
animes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of like the big ones, I would agree. Yeah. But like,
So you're saying reading the mangas?
well, so I think there are two options. Yeah, you could read the manga. I think that's a really good option because it's not as like it's still massive, but it's not as massive.
Or
Or
if I don't like reading.
Yeah. What
or
if I can't read?
there's
If I can't read.
there's another alternative. Play the games. Play Naruto's the whole like quadrilogy is on PS4. You can play them all, absorb the story, and I think it's a very worthy retelling of the Naruto saga. If you don't know what Naruto is,
Story about. Well, there's
it's
a lot.
it's
There's
the
a lot.
story. Yeah, I mean there's a lot going on. The synopsis is that there is a kid in the village hidden in the leaves. That the village hidden in the hidden leaf village.
Hidden Leaf Village, yeah.
As it were. That when he was a young boy, had a monster called the Nine-Tailed Fox sealed inside him, and was ostracized by the village because the Nine-Tailed Fox, before it was sealed inside him, had attacked the village, basically. And so he was ostracized, and the other important thing about this world is that there are ninjas that use
Such a cool world, by the
yeah,
way.
it's a really cool, really sort
So
of
there's different
aesthetic.
different clans.
so there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But we pick up sort of right towards the end of his training to be a ninja, and then he passes whatever exam it takes to become a genin, which is the lowest level of ninja there is.
It gets really good when he goes for the chunin.
Yeah.
What are these words?
I think
feel like
they're
I just-
actually. I'm pretty sure they're actual words.
Dude,
It's just like
they're really cool words.
Yeah.
I, mean, I feel like
Yeah.
anybody else is just lost. Like, what is chunin? What is that?
but
mean? Yeah.
But we start with him right before he starts to like go out on missions and things like that. And Sawyer's computer is just complaining.
It's taking off.
Working. Yeah.
So the way that it works is that there's when you're first starting off, you're on a team with 2 other people,
Yeah.
and then one really high-ranking ninja is your leader. Like he's a teacher and a leader, basically.
Yeah.
So Naruto is on a team with Sasuke Uchiha.
The cool kid.
Probably my favorite character.
Yeah, dude. Everybody wants to be Sasuke.
And
And then
and I've seen the entire. I've absorbed the entire story. You haven't.
yeah. Well, I've almost. So here's the thing. I should mention that I've seen almost the entirety of the original series.
Yeah.
And like all the filler episodes, which is like like 300 episodes.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot of TV.
Yeah. So I could have watched a lot of things instead, but I decided to watch this.
Yeah.
Nobody. Okay, so here's the thing. All right.
Hey, I don't judge you for that.
Well, it's really good, and you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. I put it on last. So this was last winter break.
Yeah.
I had shout out to Jazz. She gave me like the manga to read because I was just curious because I wanted to revisit it because it is a childhood favorite of mine. But I feel like something I've been trying to do recently is revisiting like old, things of the past and like kind of like commenting on whether or not it holds up or if it's as good as I remember it being. So I was very curious because I know that I remember that Naruto's on the same level as Teen Titans and Avatar for me, where it affected me pretty significantly. It wasn't like SpongeBob where I'd put it on to have like a fun time. This was like I would go to Naruto for more mature content, very mature content. Like I mean not okay. For a kid.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But
it's mature in terms of like Avatar is mature.
Avatar in terms of you're dealing with more you're dealing with
more complex
these characters' emotions, things that you wouldn't get on. You don't get on.
You don't get that.
It's more complex themes.
More complex themes. The characters I feel like you kind of grow with. You like they develop and stuff, and I could get behind them. For characters who I relate with, and it's also like very fun. Like when I put it, I read the manga. So I was reading the manga as I was watching the.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I was doing over winter break.
Do you? How far did you get in the manga?
Not that far because I wasn't able to get all of them with like the libraries and stuff, local libraries. But I got pretty. I was enjoying it because I was reading and then I would watch it and watch.
Nice.
Till about like I would say a quarter of the way through. But dude, okay.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
One, is it Naruto or Naruto?
It's Naruto.
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 It's the.
Naruto,
anybody who says Naruto has never heard somebody in the show say Naruto.
Naruto Uzumaki.
Because it's like the way even the Japanese dub says it like instead of like Naruto they say it like Naruto, like they emphasize the O,
Naruto.
not the R.
Naruto.
So
Naruto. Okay.
So,
I was gonna say that's we're getting into Naruto.
But
no, okay, so it is a little funny though because I don't know if it's funny, but like watching like the Japanese version of like how they really emphasize like all the names and stuff, and I'm just like this is really good.
Well, that's something that you'll get with Japanese.
Yeah.
With the original dubs of anime is that it's not as because with English dubs they usually play it pretty straight,
Mhm.
but I think Japanese dubs are actually like way more self-aware.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I love Naruto. I basically grew up with these characters, and you know, I actually never really. I know everything that happens in the original series, but I never watched the original series. I only ever like played it in video games.
Yeah.
And then I watched sort of on and off the anime for Shippuden, which is at the end of the original series there's a 3-year time gap where Naruto goes off to train,
Mhm.
and then Shippuden picks up right at the end of that
Yeah.
that gap.
Yeah.
And they
I mean, also Kakashi Sensei. Come
yeah,
on.
I mean Kakashi's cool.
Kakashi's like one of the cooler characters, dude.
Yeah.
I will say, the entire time of this, I've had the Go Ninja Go song from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 stuck in my head ever since you mentioned the word ninja.
Nice.
I
I
still don't quite understand how this show works.
So
Well,
I-
okay,
so I would- I
all
would-
you have to know is
I
it's
would-
okay. So I didn't finish. Sorry, I didn't finish describing my rewatching of this
Okay.
show. So I went back and I rewatched it, and I was my younger brother came up and he laughed at me for watching this. He was like, "You're really watching this?" And I was like, "Yes." It's but it was so like I was sorry I was surprised at how entertaining it still was. I was really expecting it to be like not stupid, but like something that wouldn't really appeal to me. But
Yeah.
as I watched each episode and I kept watching it. It's just addicting.
There's a reason it's super popular.
There is a reason why it's one of the most popular animes of all
Yeah.
time, and also like
It's probably right under Dragon Ball.
yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off too, but I was gonna say because every time I felt like the show was gonna like get really slow or just get repetitive, there's like something happened and like it just kept going, like it was something new kind of happened and there was this new kind of thing, and like it kept me interested all the way through, which I was surprised because like that's 300 episodes, like the original series is like a lot of episodes, so
Yeah, I mean we're running out of time, so
I want to talk about the Land of the Waves though. With
Okay,
Ozawa-zaka.
I'll let you talk about
Dude.
that, but I wanna tell Sawyer, I wanna give Sawyer some incentive.
Okay.
Towards the end,
Mhm.
there's a the big bad who's like throughout Shippuden, who's been like teased and like he's an absolute legend and he's here, right?
Mhm.
That he's by himself. There are entire armies of ninjas and giant monsters standing against him, and he is he's back and he's standing on his own. This is the bad guy. He says in one of the at the end of the episode, he says, "All right, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna win against all of these people," and he does it. And it's incredible.
That's what's absurd about.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts about Naruto is that like
Wait a second, who is that? Is this at the end of the show?
I'm not telling you.
Wait a second.
Have you not finished it?
Yeah, he's not done. He's not
okay.
done. He only finished the original series.
Oh, you haven't seen Shippuden.
Yes.
I got it right. Woo.
Naruto was
But I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of the show is it's not Dragon Ball where it's like one person just attains a ton of power
The immense power.
just because they can. Like nobody's really Superman in this show, or in this series, but like they give you a reason to be impressed by certain feats, and so like when you see this one guy do everything that he did, probably I think at that point he's still missing an eye. Like legitimately, he only has one eye, and the fact that he does that, and the fact that like it escalates from there, is really impressive. And
I like because kind of going back to what I was talking about, where like always like kind of like when I would feel like the show's gonna get repetitive or like dragged on, it kind of like that expectation breaks and like something like that happens where it's just like this one person against like this underdog story. I really like is just kind of throughout the entire original series.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Land of the Waves with Zabuza.
Yeah, this is like the first real serious mission that they ever go
Yeah,
on.
like a level D mission or something.
Yeah, it's like
submission.
it's supposed to be super basic. Like they're transporting somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like
They're protecting somebody.
Yeah, they're like protecting somebody from low level bandits.
Yeah.
And these two like legendary ninja attack this carriage.
What are you shaking your head for?
I love the ridiculousness of this anime. Like anime in general.
It's good though.
I know. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's not. I'm saying I love the
You
ridiculousness.
gotta. I think you do have to watch it in context though,
Yeah.
because you don't exactly understand the like the level, like the
impact
the
there.
impact that this had,
Yeah.
because like the
I was
I
just saying,
can
I
tell-
loved how you were
yeah.
explaining to me with a straight face. He's attacked by two legendary ninjas.
I guess it's one legendary ninja and is war.
They were
I think
expecting
is,
some
like,
low
the-
bandits.
Yeah,
Like that.
but the entire like battle that ensues is excellent and very very well done from a story, from an action perspective.
I'm not ashamed to say this. I teared up.
Yeah, Naruto has made me cry every once in a while.
so,
Like
yeah,
it's I would, if you don't want to
always exceeds expectations.
if you don't want to commit to the show, total respect.
Dragon Ball.
Play
Z
it.
first.
Also, I have to mention the sexy technique that Naruto has.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to talk about that. I would highly recommend playing the Storm games. They're fun in their own right. All of them are on the PlayStation Store for like. Actually, I don't know how much, but like they're all really good.
There's so much to talk
in terms
about.
of like arena fighters, like I would say they're probably my favorite ones that I've ever played. Storm 4. So I'll give you a quick rundown. The first Storm game is super different from the rest because they ditched a bunch of the systems that they had, and just sort of revamped it in Storm 2.
Yeah.
Storm 2 is I'm replaying it right now. It's kind of clunky, but it's still fun to play. Storm 3 is excellent. That's a great game. Storm 4 has the best gameplay, but in terms of like expansive story modes, probably not as good, but it's still, it finishes out the Naruto story in a very satisfying way.
I want to play these games with you. I've told you this. It just
Yes.
hasn't happened.
Well, maybe we'll go through the games together.
Well, 1v1.
So just so you can absorb the story.
Is this because this is Shippuden, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, with that, we've got to get through our topics, or through our topic, which
Our topic.
our topic, our 1 hour topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a
this
good
week
segue.
it's a good segue. This aired on Toonami, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So Naruto.
Yeah, Naruto aired on Toonami. Yeah. So
Toonami was like the coolest like, well, Adult Swim, but also Toonami was just like staying up till like, what was it, like 10 p.m. Is that when it goes on? 9
I
p.m.
don't know. I actually never watched Toonami.
Well, how'd you watch these then?
Later,
Okay.
when I was like a teenager.
Did you grow up with? You didn't grow up watching Naruto.
I grew up with Naruto there, but I never actually watched it. I wasn't allowed to watch it. I played the games.
Because it does get pretty bloody. Or
Yeah. But the what was I gonna say? Oh, so Cartoon Network, Nicktoons, Disney XD, 4Kids. Don't forget 4Kids.
Yeah. So
our
yeah,
topic.
So that's our topic.
So our
basically,
topic is animated shows.
yeah, like American animated TV shows.
Yep.
Basically.
And I have to start off with a childhood favorite.
Oh, I thought you were gonna start with SpongeBob.
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna start off with the classic.
Okay.
Tom and Jerry.
Yo, that's a
Tom-
that's a sneaky pick right there.
Yeah. Tom and Jerry. I mean, who doesn't like Tom and Jerry?
Yeah,
It appeals to everybody. Also, the thing I love about these cartoons is anybody from around the world could watch these. There's no language attachment to it. It's just something that everybody could relate to. People, like my dad grew up with Tom and Jerry, and he's from a different part of the world. So you don't necessarily have to be, I know we're talking about, American cartoons.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are Warner. These are like the people who made these are American cartoonists.
Yeah.
But that appealed. It was very. This is Tom and Jerry was a cartoon that was very popular overseas as well. Along with other shows like Bugs Bunny, for instance, you don't necessarily have to understand the language to understand the action,
the humor,
and action. Yeah. So that's what I really liked about these animated shows.
Yeah, these shows sort of come from a bygone era of animation that didn't have to have a quote unquote characters. Like you had the faces, like Betty Boop. Like Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, that you had the faces,
Popeye and stuff,
yeah, but like they didn't really have character arcs. Like SpongeBob, I would say is like the last gasp of like character arcs that don't
necessarily
progress.
Yeah.
Just sort of, it just sort of like you have the base characters and it just sort of happens.
One thing I was going to mention was, so like you have cartoons like Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, SpongeBob even.
Yeah.
These are shows that don't have much of a character arc.
No.
Because
there are some two-parters here and there. And,
some, but like nothing significant. Yeah. Whereas when we talked about something, when we were talking about shows like Avatar, Teen Titans, Naruto, there is that story arc, which was what made it more mature and also more meaningful.
Yeah, made me more invested.
More invested in the characters.
Yeah, I mean, Teen Titans, I feel like is one of the better anything to come out of superheroes ever.
Yeah.
Just in general, and that was made in 2002, running on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
20 minutes an episode.
Yeah.
Very good.
But going more like I guess talking about Teen Titans. I feel like we've talked about it a lot.
We've talked about Teen Titans a lot.
We've talked about Teen Titans a lot.
Never stop.
I was gonna say, where did we're not including how recent are we doing this? How recent are we?
As long as it's
I would say the only restriction is let's talk about like made in America Saturday morning cartoon style.
Okay, so well, let's talk about the TMNT cartoons.
Yeah, because
let me before we mention anything. What is your favorite
Heroes in a Half Shell? Sorry,
TMNT, because there's 4 versions now.
My favorite of my favorite version of any of the Turtles is from the 06 animated movie.
Oh, 06 animated movie. Oh,
we're talking
the
about
one
TV.
that I mentioned all the time, the CG animated one.
Yeah. That one's legitimately awesome.
I agree. I love that movie.
So a couple ones that I grew up with, especially talking about Saturday night cartoons.
Saturday night.
Saturday.
You have to tell them what TMNT version is your favorite.
Well, that's what I'm going. That's what I'm going. So Saturday morning cartoons. This isn't. I don't know if this is regarded as one of the better ones, but the one where they're in the future.
Which one is that?
The TV show.
Was it the one on
TV
4
show?
Kids?
Yes.
Oh, you mean the 2003 version?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That one was great. I love that one.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, we're in the future for that?
Are we talking about TV shows or are we talking about something?
Yeah. We're talking about TV shows. Yeah.
But I also really enjoyed. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed the CG animated one.
Yeah. The Nicktoons one was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
I would say.
I was gonna say that
just in general.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
If we're even though it's a movie, if we're counting it, the 2007 movie. If we're going straight for TV, it's the 2003 one as well.
Oh, so not the Michael Bay ones? I
Um,
forgot those existed.
Yeah, I think the '80s one is a classic, but if you're a Ninja Turtles purist and you go back to the past, the Ninja Turtles were never meant to be this cute and cuddly, like children's thing. They were
dark.
They were dark. They were basically like Turtle Batman. That's what they
Yeah.
were, and
Which is-
kind of Daredevil.
Which
too.
is then why we got a Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it was the Adam West versus the.
It was.
I think it was
Oh,
Adam
we've
West.
gotten a movie recently that wasn't Adam
Oh.
West one.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That-
I don't know.
It was. Yeah, I think it's cool, but like it was, I like how the 2003 one tried to adhere as close to the comics as possible. Like it still had the fact that it was for kids,
Yeah.
but it was a little bit darker. It wasn't as cheesy. The turtles actually acted like real teenagers and not children.
Yeah.
Like it was. It felt much more. It's probably the closest to comic adaptation, just bloodless. But it still had that children's humor, but
Yeah.
also kept the storyline intact.
I like that this newest version of the Teen Titans show, like
The
this
rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, this animation looks interesting. It looks like it's almost like anime, but like also has like a
Yeah.
lot of elements of cartoon,
Interesting.
like American cartoon.
Interesting that they went back to 2D. I would have thought that they would just keep doing 3D animation.
I think John Cena's a voice in that show.
Oh, well,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with David.
Oh.
If David Tennant can play Scrooge McDuck,
I forgot about that.
I think John Cena can play Shredder.
Didn't Don Cheadle do a voice on DuckTales?
He played Donald Duck, but with his voice normal.
Oh.
So the joke. I don't know why we're talking about this, but the joke in the new DuckTales is that like Donald is there and he's talking, and nobody can comprehend what he's saying because like why could they? He talks so weird compared to everybody else. Everybody else has a normal voice,
Yeah.
and Donald sounds like a talking duck.
Mhm.
And so one of the trio, I don't know which one, they like shove a device down his throat, and then like he starts talking and his voice starts getting more and more normal, and
my
and
God.
his voice is Don Cheadle.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious.
All right,
But yeah,
Samurai Jack.
I
Never watched
always
it,
wanted to, but I never have.
Samurai Jack as a kid, because it would come at such an obscure time, it would air, that I'd never get the whole picture. I'd only get
Okay.
like parts of episodes or even like one episode like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
As a kid, trying to comprehend TV schedules is a nightmare.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like just whatever was
Especially
on.
cartoon schedules. They
Yeah.
never made any sense.
Yeah. But went back a couple years ago and I rewatched. Well, I didn't rewatch, but I watched the new Samurai Jack show that they came out with.
Oh yeah.
And it was really good, really well animated.
Cool.
I'm just gonna go through these and just start. We'll see if we get reactions. Johnny Bravo. I mean, let's talk about like early 2000 or early Cartoon Network TV shows. So Johnny
Yeah.
Bravo. You had
There's also-
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls is a classic.
Well, it's a classic, of course.
Yeah.
So you had you had Dexter's Laboratory. You had Courage the Cowardly Dog. These are all like.
Those are all classics.
Well, these are all early
Those are-
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, those are all like early, like this is what Cartoon Network is known for
Yeah.
amongst like our generation.
Yeah.
And then you have
What?
and then you get some of the other stuff because like around I would say 2009 you get sort of the Ben 10 era
Ben
where
10 is
it's
awesome.
like
Ben 10 is awesome.
Which version of Ben 10 did you prefer? The original?
Oh,
or...
the original by
Yeah.
far. Okay,
I've only ever liked the sequel where he's
Omniverse?
I thought it was Alien Force.
Oh,
I don't, it was the I don't remember I don't
I think it is
the one
Alien
the
Force
one
from-
where he's like a teenager.
Yeah.
That's Alien
Is-
Force, I think.
Is that
Which
one's
the
mine.
Omniverse, or was that the?
I'm looking it up right now. Okay, let's see. I apologize to the audience. I've been computering this entire time.
Yeah.
we have to
I
go
gotta
through our
fact check.
Ben 10 lore.
Yeah. Okay. So there was Ben 10, and then there was Ben 10 Alien Force. Then
Is-
Ben
is
10
that the-
Ultimate Alien.
Oh.
So I think Alien Force and Ultimate Alien were like the back to back.
Yeah, Alien Force was 2008 to 2010.
What was the newest one's name?
Ultimate Alien was 2010 to 2012. Omniverse was 2012 to 2014. And then the reboot started in 2016.
I can't believe they reboot the series.
Yeah. Well,
I'm mad.
that's
Um,
Cartoon Network for you.
But Ben
Yeah.
10 was like, I remember like hearing, like seeing the commercials for it, and I watched it. Like that's actually a show that I watched all the way through each episode.
Alien Force and Ultimate Alien were really good.
Yeah.
I really liked those.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a live action?
Well, there were 2 live action
The
movies.
live action movies suck.
Race Against Time and Alien Swarm.
They're
I
both-
can't believe
they're
they made live
both-
action movies.
They're both really bad.
Okay.
Really bad.
But I was gonna
And
say,
I want to just I want to
Where
just
is it?
include a show that actually crossed over with Ben 10. I don't know if you remember this. Generator Rex.
yeah,
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good show.
So which
My-
ones have we mentioned so far? We mentioned Generator Rex, Samurai Jack, Courage the Cowardly Dog briefly, Tom and Jerry,
Tom and Jerry,
and Ben 10.
TMNT.
Johnny Bravo.
TMNT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TMNT was
Um,
great. Anyway, yeah, Generator Rex.
Yeah.
Generator Rex, great show.
It was really good.
It's I watched like the first episode recently, and it's kind of slow at the beginning, but like it's a lot of fun. And then they had the crossover with Ben 10, which is really
That's
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It's like it's an alternate dimensions thing, right? Like
Probably, guys.
yeah.
It's like Jimmy Timmy Power
yeah.
Hour.
I think Generator X is like. Do you know what the concept is?
Generator Rex.
Yeah.
I actually have not seen much
It's
of Generator Rex.
it's
surprisingly.
it's I'm trying to remember what it's like.
Well, I may have seen some of it. I just can't recall.
It's basically like in
Is it,
in the world they're like these tiny machines have like replicated over and over again or something and start
Machine.
and I think it's
I think I have
nanites.
seen this.
It's nanites in this.
Well,
in
I
this
had
show.
to make the Metal Gear
Yes.
reference.
But the
Nanomachine.
Once an episode, man. It's
What? This is my second one this
Oh.
episode.
the
Okay. Losing ground.
but but like it's basically like X-Men, but like there's only one good X-Men.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it's all like mechanical. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he goes around, and so like these nanites are transforming people into monsters, and he goes around curing them.
Does anybody
basically.
remember the Scooby Doo and Shaggy TV show that was just them two?
I do not.
I don't.
I was never really a big Scooby fan outside of the
Well, I have to
movies.
mention Scooby Doo.
We should
yeah.
we should talk about Jimmy Neutron and
Timmy Turner? Well, I know it's Fairly Odd Parents.
Fairly Odd Parents.
As a kid, I always called it Timmy Turner. I never even said
Okay, do
Fairly
you guys
Odd.
remember the Secret Saturdays?
Vaguely.
No,
Vaguely.
That was like it had like a very like small run.
that's funny.
The Secret Saturday. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think so. For mentioning Jimmy Neutron, that show I always
Dude.
loved the animation, like the huge bobbleheads and the regular
Yeah,
size
dude.
body.
It's actually like looking back at it, it's really bad,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
you believed it at
As
the
a kid,
time.
you were like, "This looks funny."
And I always liked the movie too.
Oh,
I think I always
Yeah.
preferred Fairly Odd Parents a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably
Cosmo
because I
and Wanda
liked-
were always my favorite
Yeah.
too.
I don't know if I don't know if like these all were on the same level for me. I loved them all equally.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
That's those are Nicktoons classics.
It's
Well,
it's
I-
big to mention with a lot of these cartoons that like, especially when it comes to Disney and Nick,
Yeah.
a lot of the ones that like I guess it's more Disney, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. I don't know why I said it like that. A lot of their shows were like they were still all ages. Like there's a lot, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like a Pixar type thing where their kids can watch them, but a lot of the adults will still watch them. A lot of these Cartoon Network and Nick shows, I'll still buy the Blu-rays and watch now
Yeah.
because they're still great and they have themes that you can catch on to or overarching story arcs.
Yeah, especially the best ones were like
Yeah.
that.
Their cartoons can do that. When it comes to live action shows, the budget restraints are much more visible
And
and they
they're-
do not hold up.
Yeah, well, and they're all like for teenagers
Yeah.
by teenagers.
Like they're
basically.
not really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even argue teenagers, tweens really.
Yeah, it is tween dramas.
But I think
What's a
it's
tween?
it's like a
10 to 12.
Oh.
I guess 10. Well, I'd argue like 10 to 13.
Well, but
Because
then
13
you are a
becomes
teenager at
but,
that point.
Yeah, that's true.
It's 10 to 12. It is
10
basically
through 12.
Yeah, 10 through 12
Tween.
is basically the
So
Yeah.
first
yeah.
time-
It, tween is like middle school.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like 5th grade through middle school.
Yeah, it's for middle schoolers
Okay.
basically.
But it's.
Um,
I think it's. It's like the live action ones. I think what's great about these Saturday morning cartoons and Nick and Cartoon Network ones is they still hold up without having the budget issues. Now some of them are clearly just for kids, like or meant for kids, like a Jimmy Neutron or a Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
But then you have like Teen Titans or the 03 Ninja Turtles or something like that.
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
And Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And there's also, I think Disney is the one that has this problem. Disney, I think, at least, and this is coming from somebody now, people are probably going to get mad when I say this, but Disney Channel shows and Disney XD as well. I think, now this is not also meant to be an all-encompassing thing, this is just majority, have, at least when it comes to Disney Channel, the idea has always seemed to have been about, and this is kind of a Disney thing too, profit over quality. Whereas a lot of the Disney movies are always, they try to make it as quality as possible. The quality control on Disney Channel is much lower because the budgets, even though it's Disney money, the budgets look all noticeably cheap. And the animation styles, there's never really a lot of originality in animation style. It's all just like, throw it in Microsoft Paint and see what comes out.
I agree with you.
There are good ones in there, that, like Kim Possible is still great, and I will still watch it now on Disney Plus when it comes
can't
out.
remember like that many like animated like Disney shows like that.
Well, I think
early
it's you know, when I think Phineas and Ferb is an exception because that show's great.
It's good, but like I'm saying, the point is like a lot of these are still for kids.
Well, and I would say that like you can actually kind of notice what you're talking about. You can notice the transition.
Oh, the Emperor's New Groove though.
That's true. Transition from what?
You can notice the transition from like in Marvel's case, like you had Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and you had Ultimate Spider-Man, and I think those were the only two Marvel cartoons that were airing at the time, and then both of those got canceled because Disney took over.
Weren't they on Disney XD?
I don't know what's going on. All I know is that I think it was due to the popularity of the Avengers. They canceled. No. Ultimate Spider-Man was alongside
American Dragon, Jake Long.
like the new. Yeah. I love that Ahmad is just interjecting with random cartoons. But like you have
Quack Pack.
but Avengers Assemble came out, and I think it's better than anything Disney's put out since in terms of Avengers cartoons. Yeah,
I think we have to talk about the Batman animated series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the lastly on the Disney thing would be like I think it's turning around recently. Like there are a couple gems in there. Star Wars Rebels, even though I had my issues with the first season and the filler in some of the later ones, when it's not a filler episode and Dave Filoni gets to take the reins and do what he wants, it's really good. And it just is like, it's basically Dave Filoni saying, well, I'm not a Cartoon Network anymore. I'm still going to try and do what I did there, just have to tone down the violence a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to watching Star Wars Rebels when it comes out on Disney Plus.
It's I think like a lot of the Disney ones, when it's not based on on a pre-existing property, then it's pretty much just low budget, cheap. But when it's based on an existing property, Disney seems to actually try and give it somewhat of a budget.
Yeah,
I guess
that's because they have people paying attention to it.
The only one that I can see in history of Disney cartoons that actually was people trying, even though it wasn't based on a pre-existing property, is Kim Possible.
It's Kim Possible and Phineas and Ferb. Phineas and Ferb. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I grew up on that show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a very like.
I forgot to look up the rap that Dr. Doofenshmirtz says. There's a platypus controlling me.
Oh yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
The movie is great too.
Yeah, they also did a Star Wars crossover. I'm pretty sure.
Whoa!
It was a crossover. You're right.
But I think it
was like an alternate. It was an AU crossover because it was like Phineas and Ferb. They just like put all of those characters into Star Wars.
So it's kind of like the Family Guy special type thing.
Yeah.
First time anyone's compared Phineas and Ferb to Family Guy, but yeah, I think the cartoon we haven't mentioned yet is Clone Wars, not the Clone Wars, but Clone Wars.
Oh, like the OG one,
the Samurai Jack.
Yeah, the one that was done by Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
nobody seems to remember this cartoon, but when I mention it, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got to watch it. I don't know why.
It's so, and I know there is some confusion about this. I think Ahmad,
Yeah.
you and I were talking about it. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the show. So it was actually aired in terms of, at least in the first season, 3 to 5 minute episodes during, I believe it was commercial breaks.
Oh, okay.
And they were just kind of like meant to all lead up because they all came out between the release of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It aired during the
Ah.
release between those two movies.
That's cool.
And it actually, there were always like short vignettes about like, oh, this batch of clone troopers go in here and fight this group, or Mace Windu just destroying some super battle droids. They were all, there wasn't a whole lot of plot. It was, at least in the first season, first two arguably, it was mostly just, well, can we have a Jedi do that looks really cool?
Yeah.
And just did that. But
Which I'm down for.
later on, they created Volume 1 and released it on DVD, which was just all of the seasons 1 and 2 episodes of like 3 to 5 minutes just stitched together into one big hour-long movie.
Oh,
And then season 3 was Volume 2. And when you watch those two together, it's essentially one 2-hour animated Clone Wars movie that covers the entire Clone Wars. It goes from like Anakin post-Geonosis battle to exactly leading up and during when Palpatine gets kidnapped by Grievous, leading directly into Revenge of the Sith.
That's cool.
So like
It's like a form of transmedia.
yeah, and it's cool, and also the fight between Anakin and Asajj Ventress in that cartoon is one of my favorite lightsaber battles in all of Star Wars. It's great, and that effect and sound when the rain is hitting their lightsabers, like when he just like ignites his lightsaber, Anakin does, and the rain just
Dude, if they don't
hitting
have
it.
that in the Rise of Skywalker, because there is definitely...
yeah, it looks
Or something like that, right?
yeah, they gotta do something. But like
Yeah.
most of the time, if you're interested in this, the DVDs are out of print because I don't think Disney's ever really have any interest in doing it
Yeah.
because it's not canon anymore.
Well,
But-
it's not canon and it's like super obscure.
Yeah. So like if you want to see it, I do recommend it. They also, some of the storylines and ideas they explored in that cartoon were later
Yeah.
done in greater depth in the later Clone Wars, like the whole thing with Kit Fisto on what's the planet? Mon Calamari.
Okay.
Yeah. With
Really
fish people.
testing my Star Wars knowledge.
Yeah, I know. I was testing myself there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. If you're interested in seeing it, I'm stumbling over my words here.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're interested in seeing it, the DVDs are out of print, so it's kind of hard to find them. If you're a major Star Wars fan like myself, you can hunt them down eventually.
Yes.
But if you want to see it, most people have uploaded it all into one 2-hour movie on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you're interested, just look up Star Wars Clone Wars 2003 full movie, and every episode stitched together into a 2-hour movie you can find. Do be aware that it's not a typical cartoon as much, and there is very, very minimal dialogue. In
Okay.
fact, like, there's probably only about 5 sentences tops in the entire show.
Well,
It's mostly all expressionistic, and some of it's also very different from typical. I know I'm going long on this, but it's typical. It's not very typical Star Wars in terms of like there's a whole 5-minute short of just Mace Windu beating up super battle droids, and it's not even lightsaber. It's just him using the Force and then just like literally beating up super battle droids.
Yeah,
Like it's not very. It doesn't very much adhere to Star Wars canon
Okay.
in terms of like what Jedi can and can't do.
yeah.
But it's still pretty cool to watch, especially because it's Gendy Tartakovsky basically saying, "What can I do with Star Wars that looks cool?" But
Nice.
check it out.
Yeah. I don't know where else to go. Because I'm restricting us to not anime. So
Ed, Ed and Eddie, I was not allowed to watch. My mom hated when we had that. She was all right with she was okay with SpongeBob, but Ed and Eddie just
Ed and Eddie was the only one I wasn't allowed to watch.
yeah, because I
Really?
think my
On Cartoon
I never
Network, at
watched
least.
yeah, well, because it was just my mom literally thought it would make us stupid.
I was only ever
But SpongeBob
interested-
wouldn't.
Well, she wasn't like too crazy about SpongeBob either, but she was like, I mean, we would try to.
I can stand.
We
She
could-
can
we
stand SpongeBob.
a little more.
And she just hears the bang.
That's a good SpongeBob.
That sounded like a goat.
Nah, dude, that was actually a really good SpongeBob.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
impression.
Well, you didn't do the whole.
I if I wanted to, I could, but I'm not doing that on air.
Dude, you have to go full SpongeBob now. You have to.
Yeah, I never watched Ed, and Eddie because the only thing I cared about on Cartoon Network was Teen Titans. Which is why it's so disappointing that Teen Titans Go is a thing.
Yeah, but
Are we not gonna mention? I already forgot the title in my head. That's not good.
Oh no.
Danger Mouse.
Oh, Codename Kids Next Door.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Codename Kids
Yeah,
Next Door.
That was a
good
fun-
movie, dude.
I never I was never that into it, so I watched it like sporadically. So I don't know if there was any of like the overarching plot. I played a lot of the game that was on the Cartoon Network website.
Yeah.
Do you remember Fusion Fall? Either of you?
No.
I think. Wait, hold on. If I see a picture, I could probably jog the.
It
old
wasn't a
memory.
show. It wasn't a show.
Oh.
Was it a Cartoon Network game?
It
or
was.
something?
It was a Cartoon Network MMO.
Fusion Fall?
Yeah.
There was one of those there was a Teen Titans one of those, I think.
So
Oh, dude, this is an online game. Like
Yeah.
you would go online. Oh yeah,
I know.
This is a sick game.
I played so much of that game. It was an MMO but it was all of the Cartoon Network shows were in the same universe, and so like you would do like, oh, go talk to.
Wait, show it to me.
It was like, oh, go talk to number 2 from Kids Next Door, and then deliver this thing to Samurai Jack or something.
I
like
remember.
that.
I remember
and
this.
then you had like the Secret Saturdays.
And of course, it was like
Adventure Time.
it was like a Warcraft thing because World of Warcraft was huge at the time.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, you have to go buy your subscription cards, and I'm
Oh,
like,
It was
Mom, can I buy some more subscription cards?
Yeah, my parents probably spent more money than I realize on this, on both Fusion Fall and there was another Teen Titans game that was like Chibi, and it was like I don't know. It
That was
was
such a weird time.
Do you remember?
Man,
There was, speaking of these Cartoon Network online games, I guess this was a Nickelodeon
There's
one.
a lot of them.
Do you remember the last Airbender one where? It
Oh
was,
wait, was it where you had two sides like forts? on
and you
each
would
side?
launch the
Yeah,
stuff.
I would play
played
that
that all the
Dude,
time.
that was so
I
good.
remember that.
That was so good.
cool.
That was a really good one. I
think I remember that.
Well, I love those because those games were like before, like they were kind of like before an Angry Bird kind of thing where you like.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was satisfying to like just because like you would choose what empire, like fire, or you would choose like was there a water like the water empire or whatever.
Water, earth, fire, air.
Yeah, and like you would choose and you would.
Well, I don't think you
Yeah.
could pick air, but there was
I
the
remember.
other-
Yeah.
But you guys are forgetting the best one, which was a legit fighting game. Just like a
mine? I
straight
don't
fighting game with like commands and quarter circles and balance and everything.
Which one was it?
It's a Teen Titans fighting game.
Wait a second, hold on.
And it was
Oh wait, because is this the one where you could just like switch between characters?
I don't remember too much about it, but it's like a legit like 2D Street Fighter fighting game.
Yeah.
On Cartoon Network's website.
You kind of battle like for instance like the Clay Monster.
It's just like Street Fighter but Teen Titans.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
starting
really
to get
good.
some flashbacks
Yeah.
now. It's gonna.
I'm just like,
So
dude, I
good.
kind of want to.
I wonder if I could find that.
Yeah,
anywhere,
actually, and I did this last year with that Avatar: The Last Airbender one. There's a lot of just like sites that'll take old Flash games and just compile them as like an archive, and so you can still play them. It won't necessarily be on probably Cartoon Network's website.
I wonder how fun. Like right now, I'm remembering it. It's like I remember it being epic, and like going back and watching, like playing
Yeah.
it. Probably,
Same thing happened to me. I was actually in my senior year of high school
Yeah.
in study hall. We got bored, so me and a friend just started playing that game in
Uh-huh.
study hall.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't as fun as I remembered it. But it's also because since I've played that game, I've also played copious amounts of other video games that
Yeah.
were much more eventful.
Now you can actually like play video games and it's like you're good at them.
I was so restrained to like online, like the 2D thing.
Yeah.
Like having anything be in 3D. Like, for instance, in like Ben 10, like there was one where I you could play as like I don't know what the accelerator or whatever. Like the super. Okay, never mind.
There was also a lot of good like Clone Wars games on the Cartoon
Yeah,
Network
yeah.
site.
There was also don't forget Toontown.
Oh yeah, Toontown. Oh, I love.
Wait,
Toontown.
sorry, Pop Tropica.
I
Ooh,
wasn't
Pop
as
Tropica.
big in Pop Tropica.
This is shifting very quickly from. I don't have a problem with
This
it, but
this could be a whole like.
but it's shifting. It's shifting from American cartoons to American
Online.
like online Flash games.
Well, I would say it's
basically.
more just American teenager nostalgia at
That's
this
true.
point.
Yeah, that's true. 21-year-old nostalgia.
Dude,
is
Pop
basically
Tropica
what
was
this
this. Wait, is this still a thing?
is. Don't make us mark this one.
For me, I forgot about Toontown. I loved Toontown.
Toontown. Apparently, somebody's bringing it back.
Please, Disney. Please bring it back.
Please, Disney.
Put it on Xbox One.
Pop Tropica is still a thing. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, it's still a thing.
Yeah. Do you remember Cool Math?
What?
Oh,
Cool Math.
Wait, Armor
Do
Games.
you remember? Do you guys?
Not Doppler.
Do you guys
Yeah.
remember the Adventures of Stick Figure Man?
Oh,
Or whatever
I
it
used
was.
to-
Tropica?
It wasn't in. I don't think it was in Pop Tropica, but it was like this stick figure that was being drawn by a kid, and it was like a platformer or something.
No.
Yeah.
The only stick figure ones that I ever played on those sites were like the stick figure sniper games.
Yeah, the
Oh.
archer. The archer
Wait,
ones
there
were always hilarious
was,
because it would have that you'd like shoot. It would be like two stick figures standing in place, shooting each other with arrows, and like.
You had to hit the apple off the top or something like that.
No, it would just be the two stick figures, and you hit you stick it through their head, and these like red orbs would shoot
I
out the
remember that.
back.
Yeah,
Do you remember that old Flash game where it was like, I think it was called it wasn't Age of Empires because that's like a real game.
Oh, Age of Empires I used to play. I
It
love.
was like Age of War or something like that. Where
is that the war? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Warlords.
it was called like Age of Warriors or Age of Empires or something like that, where there were you would start off with like cavemen, and as you would
Oh
get
yeah,
more powers,
it gets more advanced.
Yeah, I
I
don't
love
think
that.
I
Wait,
ever played
as
that one.
you would power up and get more points, and as you would, you could upgrade to more in the future. So you'd go cavemen to like Romans, and then Romans to U.S. military,
Like the last-
and then like robots at the end.
robots at the end. That
That was
was
funny.
that was really good.
That was fun. There was that, and then Bloxorz. Do you remember Bloxorz?
Wait.
Bloxorz.
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
It was a cool math game.
Oh, of course, that was a really good one.
Yeah.
I love that
Anytime
game.
I was like, I finished my math homework. Can I play cool math? It was always Bloxorz.
Wait, I'm on cool math game. This is like really taking me back. I feel like I'm at a low point.
Well, and
I'm like I'm devolving.
Bloons Tower Defense.
Yeah,
Oh
Bloons.
yeah.
Now the iOS version of Bloons is actually sick.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that kind of like playing online games kind of devolved in, or
Yeah, it like became
evolved
the
into
phone market.
just a
Yeah.
phone, and then like I guess I got pretty big into like Clash Royale.
Yeah. Well, now it's. I think what's really cool about that though is that like now people can get paid for making bad video games.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Well,
actually,
Angry Birds
overall.
took a was pretty. That kind of
It's
got me.
gonna fall out.
Oh, sorry. That got me through middle school. Flappy Bird. What are we even talking
I
about?
feel bad
now?
for the Flappy Bird creator.
This is just childhood nostalgia,
Yeah, this
and
is-
hopefully
this is spiraled
somebody
out of
enjoys
control.
this as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Do we have anything else we want to say?
I was gonna say.
Okay.
Caleb will be back next week.
One tangent I want to mention because we talked about cartoons, and this is
Okay.
for no. Okay, and it's the Sawyer soapbox. Okay.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Sawyer's
So-
weekly soap.
In Japan,
Oh no.
animation is seen not as a genre but as a medium.
Yes.
It is a way of telling stories, and just as much as live action is. Just because something is animated does not automatically mean it's for children.
No show has made me more emotional than. Oh no, I'm forgetting it. Ahmad, give me your computer.
But while he's looking that up, my
Oh, dear.
point was essentially, in America, most of the time, people, or at least a lot of older people, say that who grew up with stuff like Tom
Oh,
and Jerry or
goodness.
something like that, grew up thinking, oh yeah, it's animated. That must mean it's for kids. That is changing now with stuff like Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff
changing
like that.
significantly, and well, not even to that extreme. It doesn't like because those I feel like are very like you have films now that are
Yeah.
that appeal to both younger and
Yeah.
older.
But I will say, like, some of the other things is, like, I wish animation in the United States, we would get more of these animated movies that aren't just for kids, like the Resident Evil animated movies,
Yeah.
Beowulf, Sausage Party.
Yeah. Well,
Stuff like that.
anything like
That isn't stupid.
I loved Love, Death and Robots,
Yeah, that was amazing.
and that was I wanted
Yeah.
to see more of that.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, some of them were misses, but a lot of them were hits.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
I would love to see more adult, not adult, but like
Yeah.
mature,
right, mature stuff.
animated
I mean, like,
stuff
yeah,
from American
right.
companies.
I would
yeah,
love
I
to-
mean, I watched the show I was gonna mention was Violet Evergarden, and
Oh, yeah.
that was a Japanese. It's a Japanese show, and it made me super emotional. and and I don't think any American anything has made me that emotional.
Yeah.
But like I'm super invested in some American properties, but it's just
Right.
like I don't know why American animation can't get over that hump.
And that's
but it
why
hasn't.
I'm just saying, like, to a lot of people, if you are out there and you're like, or you know somebody who's like, oh, I don't like watching animated movies or something like that, or
Yeah.
I don't like watch, that's just for kids,
Yeah.
or oh, it's animated, I'll just put it on for my kid, and then get mad and complain to the creators because it's not for kids. Like, slight side note, I worked at a movie theater for a little while,
Yeah.
and when Sausage Party was coming out, I think I was working there when it came out. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, or maybe I went there after the same theater after it had already come out.
Yeah.
Regardless, the stories of when Sausage Party came out, and they just see, like, you know, because a lot of time families will just go to the theater not knowing what they're going to see, just look at the posters that are out on now playing.
Also,
and
like
just go.
the name itself is a little. Sorry.
Yeah, the name itself gives it away too.
Yeah.
But they go in and they're just like, oh, it's animated. Give me tickets to this. And of course, I'm just like, whatever. Here's
Oh,
4 tickets.
no.
And because I mean, it's not my job to
Yeah,
make her
yeah,
choice.
yeah.
Right.
Mom
Yeah.
just has to go in. She can do it. And it's
Yeah.
come out and says, how dare they make a movie like this? It's for these are children. I'm like. Did you not see the R rating? Like, just because it's animated does not mean it's
Yeah,
for kids.
right.
It infuriates me.
Jeez.
Like, this is... Or, like, I remember going into Walmart one time, and this dad just let the kid, gets like, oh, go pick out a movie, brings up The Killing Joke. He's like, oh, an animated Batman movie, cool. Like,
Oh my god.
The Killing Joke? like, what?
Joke.
I'm just
I
like,
missed it.
people just,
Yeah.
like, I don't like the stigma in American pop culture that just because something is animated means it's automatically for kids, or
Yeah.
that it's lesser than live action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And,
like
you know,
that.
if you have that assumption, you're missing out on some really great
You're
stuff.
missing out on some great stuff, and people should also understand that quality animated movies or animated stuff in general does not just come from Disney. There's a lot out there does not have the Disney branding on it. Disney makes some great stuff, but limiting yourself to making sure you have to have the House of Mouse in front of it does
Yeah.
not mean you're going to always get the best content.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite animated stuff, they had, well, I think they might own it now, but they
Yeah.
they didn't at the time.
But
But,
you like a film like Your Name, and
Yeah.
that studio.
Your name.
Consistently
Same-
makes
same
really
thing.
good stuff, and it's coming up. Isn't it supposed to be like the new kind of Studio Ghibli kind of, or new?
Well, it's Makoto Shinkai is a legend. Is the idea?
Oh, it's
The director of Your Name is.
and
Yeah.
even though they're Japanese and not American, two of my
Yeah.
favorite sci-fi films of all time are Ghost in the Shell and Akira,
Yeah.
or Akira, I guess.
No,
but
Akira is is it Akira?
I don't know. There's different.
I don't
ways
know.
to say it.
I'm so mixed up on the pronunciation of that specific name is very, like, if you're an American, it's very bizarre.
Well, the animated film that I feel like has had the most impact on me, Grave of the Fireflies.
No, yeah,
Um,
that's a sad.
Yeah, and like, and if I guess if animation isn't taken seriously as a form that could actually offer up a meaningful commentary,
Yeah.
then you should.
For those of you who don't know, Grave of the Fireflies, and you correct me if I'm wrong,
No.
Ahmad, but it's essentially, it tells the story of the civilians during Japan's side of World War II.
But it tells it from the story of
Kids.
Yeah,
right?
kids.
Yeah.
An older brother's. They're not really. He's like 15, and he's younger sister, who's like 10, 12. And I'm not gonna really go much deep. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it follows these two kids, during this kind of like really, I mean, obviously a horrible time.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
perspective that's not. I really it wasn't seen before, and I feel like mediums, like a medium like animation, is interesting because you could take a lot more risks.
Especially since, like, the perspective of the Japanese civilians
Yeah.
is rarely ever seen.
Right, especially
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and
And
animation.
if it is, it's like
Mhm.
it's like the perspective of civilians looking back on the
Yeah.
war, not.
Uh-huh.
Or it's them being completely brainwashed. You don't
Yeah.
ever get the ones who don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, but I think it's like I don't know. My soapbox is over, but like
Yeah.
that you get the point.
Yeah.
Like, it's.
Yeah, it's
I hope we get much more, and I think it is changing now with streaming.
Yeah.
That we're getting more of this because there's more content out there.
Yeah.
Love, Death, and Robots. We're getting a second season
Oh.
eventually.
oh, wow,
They're
that's cool.
making a live action Avatar
Yeah, well, that's also
On
that,
Netflix.
that's circumvent, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well, but I think that it says something about
the strength of the original.
yeah, like that anybody would be willing to try to do a live action version of
Yeah.
any animated property. I think says.
And there was let's see, we got Cowboy Bebop is a great one. Aren't they doing? There's another animated one. Oh, Castlevania on Netflix.
Oh yeah, they're making. Well, that's based off of a game.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
still animated.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go find a cartoon to watch.
Go find a cartoon that revisit a cartoon.
either
revisit
revisit a cartoon or watch like either a Studio Ghibli or Makoto Shinkai film. That's
Well, some of my other favorite ones of like the mature animated movies,
Yeah.
the Starship Troopers animated movies they did.
okay.
They're actually pretty good. They're better sequels to the original Starship Troopers than Starship Troopers 2 and 3. The Resident Evil ones I've already mentioned, they're good. They're better than the live action ones. And this one is it's PG instead of R, but it's a little bit more mature. Is Titan AE.
Oh.
It was made by Don Bluth, who did, I believe, The Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven, I think. He made this movie. It was voiced by Matt Damon. It flopped in theaters, and I'm pretty sure it was the last movie that Fox Animation ever made. But came out in 2000.
Was it good?
Oh, it's highly underrated. Now it's got the music choices are very 2000. I will say that.
Okay.
But it's got an interesting world it builds on. I love the animation style, and it's just kind of a cool sci-fi
This
adventure.
looks pretty cool.
If you're looking for some more animated movies that are kind of like the whole adults will love them and enjoy the world, but it's also kind of good for kids. Titan AE, I recommend it.
Yeah.
There's only a little bit of language in it. Otherwise, I think it is PG.
Yeah. I don't have any specific recommendations. Just go watch some animation.
No, and the Incredibles.
Big Hero 6 is great.
The Incredibles and Big Hero
Not
6.
really. I don't
Yeah,
really
you know, Big
what's-
Hero 6. Big Hero. I'll put one in for Big Hero 6. I think it's more. It has more depth than people give it credit for.
I don't really know what's coming out.
As
soon.
my favorite movie of all time.
Is there any other big animated? Oh, I think there's another like animated something coming out from Disney.
Yeah,
That's
I was-
like
I was
not.
just-
I mean, obviously, but
Yeah.
like one of the adaptations of a
Yeah,
classic story.
I was just thinking of like upcoming animated films. That
Frozen 2.
Frozen 2.
Oh, I'm gonna go watch that.
Nah. Dude,
I'm
you
go-
and me, let's go.
Let's go. Wait, are you? Frozen?
Yeah, you're coming too.
If I'm here.
Isn't it November?
If I'm here.
Isn't it?
It's that
Thanksgiving?
it comes out the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Oh, so we'll
Yeah,
we'll have
we'll
to.
be
I'll
here.
probably
We'll have to
be
drag.
here. That might also be the wrap party for Ryan and Sam's.
I'd rather just go to see Frozen.
Wow.
Okay, I hope you're not listening to this then,
Anyways,
Sam. Okay, with Ryan.
Anyways,
With that,
let's dig ourselves out of this hole. Yeah. Ahmad, do you have any other recommendations, real quick?
Not really. I think I mean, like this is all very like animation is very personal. Like
Yeah.
every person has a different
why
kind
would
of taste.
film and television in
Yes.
general?
Yeah,
Entertainment is subjective.
It's hard to recommend something that that I find to be personal that
Yeah.
it might not be.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check out. Well, I haven't seen Coco, so I should recommend myself to see that.
It's
but-
good.
Okay.
Oh, and watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah, watch.
Yeah,
the Clone
yeah.
Wars,
Give the Clone Wars your time.
Yeah.
It makes the prequels better.
Yes.
Yeah.
It like single-handedly makes the prequels like 10 times better
Yeah.
just by existing.
Also, we
Um,
haven't really talked about stop motion, but that's for.
The stop motion's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stop
Oh,
motion's a beast.
Corpse Bride. Watch Corpse Bride. It's great. Even though Halloween's over, watch the Corpse Bride.
Watch the Nightmare Before.
It sounds way more creepy than it actually is.
Okay.
It's PG.
Okay.
It's Tim Burton, so
Typical Tim Burton.
it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's like Nightmare Before
Making
Christmas.
a German frick.
I might get some flack for this, but Corpse Bride is actually better than Nightmare Before Christmas, and it came out after, I think.
What?
Yeah.
Controversial
Corpse
opinion.
Bride is
Not
great.
really that many Disney movies that I think are gonna be good.
That they're coming out.
Big Hero
soon.
6.
So Frozen 2
Wait, do you mean it are
that are
Coming
coming
out.
out. They're
Oh,
coming
okay.
out.
Okay.
Spies in Disguise looks
Oh,
alright.
that wasn't even originally Disney. They just acquired that from Fox when they bought Fox.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It doesn't look very good though, but it does have Tom Holland and Will Smith in it.
I can't believe they haven't announced Big Hero 6 2.
They got the TV show.
Onward has Tom Holland.
He's in both.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tom Holland
Wow.
is just in everything now.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's just like, people are calling him up because he plays Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, I'll work.
Spider-Man, do a flip.
Yeah,
Do a flip.
That's-
I was wondering.
That's basally Tom Holland.
No, yeah.
Just
This is
like,
like
give
the-
us your voice.
This is like the only film like actually looks
Raya and the Last Dragon.
looks.
Is that Pixar or Disney?
Looks like it's Disney.
I'm
I'm just curious to know because I'm curious where animation will be like
Yeah.
when like for instance when we get into like more of because there hasn't really been anything that's come out recently that's jumped out like not even recently this year that's jumped out as like something that might qualify as like an Academy Award winner, not necessarily just from Disney but just in general.
you're right.
When did Into the Spider-Verse came out like I remember that came out like
Like
last year.
December 2018.
Yeah.
what a good movie.
There's one studio. I can't remember what it was. But,
Blur.
yeah, Blur. That's what it was. Blur Studios. Anything they did is pretty much always some of the best animation I've ever seen, and they made the best shorts in Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, they did. I agree.
Thanks for screwing that up.
Yeah, I was like, you're looking for a studio. I know you love Blur.
Animation.
2 and 2 together.
Is this gonna be like when we try to guess our favorite movies? And,
You know, we should do a ranking of best animated movies.
Oh.
Or favorite animated movies.
we will do that at some point, but we have to go.
Yeah.
You have to go. Okay.
we need to.
I'm gonna head
So with
out.
that, Sawyer,
I'm gonna head out.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
will you rattle off the social media / platforms?
I wonder if I just cut together the last week one onto the end of this, if anybody would even notice.
Well, now you can't do it.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you are unable.
So, social media.
Except
We're
Except the cuts like I recorded. Right.
at Cascate at CASTCATE on Twitter because of our old handle, but you can still find us by searching the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast on Twitter. And on Instagram, we are at the Lab Rats Podcast. We don't really post much there, but on Twitter, you will get a notification every single time an episode goes up. And our social media, speaking of social, or I guess our podcast platform, we already did social media.
Yeah.
I don't know. By this point, if you're still listening, you already know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You can find us wherever you're listening now, as well as Spotify, Podbean, Apple, Google, Stitcher, and YouTube.
That's it. We did it, boys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you
I got nothing else.
let us know if you are a YouTube listener, because YouTube's been giving us issues.
Yeah.
And we might just. I've been considering phasing out YouTube altogether.
Just nix YouTube.
Because most of the time I've noticed that most of our listenership comes from other sources.
Interesting.
So if you are a YouTube listener, let us know if you would like us to keep it. Otherwise, we would go to other platforms. And yeah, I guess that'd be
All
Okay.
right. Yeah. Ahmad,
And-
do you have anything else to say?
No, thank you all for listening.
yeah. Thanks again.
for listening.
And I will. Like I said, Caleb mans the Twitter now. So any questions, direct them to him.
And he'll be back next week. He had to work.
Yeah.
Because college. I don't know.
College.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
that, I think we're done.
Bye.